David Danne was a 48-year-old kindergarten teacher who lived in Tampa, Florida. He taught at Sunny Days Kindergarten, where he had worked for 25 years. David was well loved by his students and their parents. He was known for his engaging teaching style and charismatic personality. David lived with his wife, Jennifer, and their 2 teenage children, Emily and Jacob. The Danne family was active in their church and often participated in community events. David had always dreamed of being a teacher, despite being a man in a predominantly female field, and was passionate about his work. His classroom was filled with colorful posters, educational toys, and books from popular series like Magic Treehouse and the Berenstain Bears. He often used songs and games to make learning fun for his students. Despite his professional success, David had a complicated personal life. He and Jennifer had been married for 20 years, but their relationship had grown strained. Jennifer, a stay-at-home mom, had become suspicious of David's frequent absences and odd behavior. She often noticed him texting late at night and leaving the house without explanation. In the days leading up to his death, David's behavior became more erratic. He missed family dinners and church events, claiming he had important meetings. Jennifer grew increasingly frustrated, and their arguments became more frequent. Friends noticed that David seemed distracted and preoccupied. On the night before his death, David was seen leaving a local diner, the Four Green Fields, where he had met with several individuals described as suspicious. Witnesses reported that David appeared nervous and agitated. On the morning of June 14, 2017, Carla Rodriguez, a fellow teacher at Sunny Days Kindergarten, arrived at the school early. It was around 7:30 a.m., and she was preparing for the day ahead. Carla noticed something unusual as she walked past the playground. David Danne's body was lying on the ground near the jungle gym. Carla was shocked and terrified. David's body was covered in blood, and it was clear something terrible had happened. She saw that he had been shot and that his eyes were missing. Carla immediately called 911, her hands shaking as she dialed. "There's been a murder at Sunny Days Kindergarten," she told the operator, trying to stay calm. The news of the murder spread quickly. Reporters from local media outlets like the Tampa Bay Times and television stations such as WLA News Channel 8 rushed to the scene. By 8:00 a.m., the kindergarten was surrounded by police cars and news vans. Carla was still in shock, but she managed to describe what she had seen to Detective Mercer. She explained that David had seemed fine the day before, although he had been acting a bit distracted lately. Carla couldn't believe that something so horrible had happened at their school. As police surveyed the playground, they noted the blood spattered on the ground and the gruesome condition of David's body. It was a chilling sight, and it was clear that this was a violent and deliberate act. The playground, usually a place of joy and laughter, was now a crime scene. The police set up a perimeter around the kindergarten and began their investigation. They interviewed other teachers and staff members, searching for any clues that might explain what had happened. Parents who arrived to drop off their children were turned away, and the school was closed for the day. News of the murder spread throughout Tampa, and soon the entire community was talking about the shocking event. People were frightened and confused, wondering who could have committed such a terrible crime. The discovery of David Danne's body marked the beginning of a complex and disturbing investigation. The police were determined to uncover the truth and bring the perpetrator to justice. The police arrived quickly at Sunny Days Kindergarten after Carla Rodriguez's 911 call on the morning of June 14, 2017. By 8:00 a.m., Detective John Mercer and his team were on the scene. Detective Mercer, a 45-year-old investigator known for his attention to detail, took charge immediately. Detective Mercer instructed officers to secure the playground and keep onlookers and media at a distance. The scene was grim. David Danne's body lay near the jungle gym, with blood spattered on the ground and equipment. He had been shot twice with a 9mm, and his eyes had been gouged out with a knife. The brutality of the crime was shocking. Detective Mercer and his team began their investigation. They carefully examined the playground, taking photos and collecting evidence. They found 2 9mm shell casings near the body. Forensic experts took DNA swabs and collected fingerprints from the playground equipment. They also gathered samples of the blood for analysis. The crime scene was a mess. The once cheerful playground, usually filled with children's laughter, was now a place of horror. Brightly colored swings and slides contrasted sharply with the dark reality of the murder. Detective Mercer noted the eeriness of the scene and the contrast between the violence and the innocent setting. The police interviewed Carla Rodriguez, who had discovered the body. Carla described her shock and fear when she saw David. She also mentioned that David had seemed distracted lately, but hadn't shown any signs of fear or distress. Detective Mercer and his team also spoke with other teachers and staff members. They learned that David had been a well-liked teacher, but had recently exhibited unusual behavior. He often stayed late at the school and had been seen with people who were not staff or parents. The investigation extended beyond the school. Detectives visited David's home and interviewed his wife, Jennifer Danne. Jennifer admitted that their marriage had been strained due to David's frequent absences and odd behavior. The police also checked David's phone and computer for clues. They found numerous text messages and emails suggesting that David was involved in activities outside his teaching job. These messages hinted at secret meetings and possible illegal activities. The crime scene investigation at Sunny Days Kindergarten was thorough and meticulous. Detective Mercer and his team were determined to find out who had committed this brutal murder and why. The playground, once a symbol of joy, had become the starting point of a complex and disturbing case. The police turned their attention to Jennifer Danne, David's wife. Jennifer, 39, was a stay-at-home mom devoted to their two teenage children, Emily and Jacob. Known for her active role in her church and community, Jennifer seemed like the perfect wife and mother. However, the police needed to investigate everyone close to David. Jennifer was brought in for questioning on June 15, 2017, the day after David's body was found. Detective John Mercer led the interrogation. He asked Jennifer about her relationship with David and her activities on the night of the murder. Jennifer described her marriage as strained. She admitted that David had been acting strangely for months. He often came home late and made excuses about meetings and work. Jennifer suspected he was having an affair but had no proof. Despite her suspicions, she claimed she had no idea about his involvement in illicit activities. During the interrogation, Jennifer remained calm. She answered questions clearly and showed no signs of panic. However, her resentment toward David was evident. She talked about the frequent arguments they had and how she felt abandoned by him. Jennifer mentioned she had considered hiring a private investigator to follow David, but decided against it. The police also looked into Jennifer's activities on the night of the murder. She said she was at home with her children, which Emily and Jacob confirmed. The family had dinner together and watched the Disney movie Moana. Jennifer insisted she had no reason to kill David, despite their marital problems. Detective Mercer and his team checked Jennifer's phone records and found nothing suspicious. There were no late-night calls or texts that indicated she was involved in the murder. They also spoke to neighbors and friends who vouched for her character and described her as a loving mother and dedicated church member. Despite the lack of evidence directly linking Jennifer to the crime, the police couldn't ignore her motive. Jennifer had a reason to be angry and hurt by David's actions. Detective Mercer noted that while she seemed innocent, her calm demeanor could be a sign of hiding something. The investigation into Jennifer Danne left the police with more questions than answers. While she had a possible motive, there was no concrete evidence tying her to the murder. The police knew they needed to continue digging to uncover the truth. On June 16, 2017, just 2 days after David Danne's body was discovered, new evidence emerged that would change the direction of the investigation. It was a hot and unbearably humid day in Tampa, Florida. Around 2 p.m., police officers discovered new evidence that would change the course of their investigation. A maintenance worker was cleaning the storage room at Sunny Hills Kindergarten when he found a hidden camera behind a stack of books. Confused and scared, he immediately called the police. Detectives arrived at the scene quickly. They carefully collected the hidden camera and took it to the police station for further examination. The camera contained shocking footage. It showed David Danne filming and participating in dozens of adult movies filmed in the kindergarten after hours. Even more disturbing, the footage revealed David forcing the kindergarten kids to fight each other in something he called Hunger Games Jr. The detectives were horrified. They could not believe what they were seeing. The children looked scared and hurt as he told them he would withhold food from them as encouragement to fight more aggressively. They knew they had to act fast to protect the kids and find out who else was involved. Detective Mercer, who was known for determination and compassion, was deeply affected by the footage. He vowed to bring justice to the victims. The police department called in a special team of forensic experts to analyze the footage. They used advanced software to enhance the video quality and identify the people involved. The experts worked around the clock, carefully studying every detail. They found evidence of at least 25 different women in the videos participating in sex with David, including a woman named Lara Watro. The police also discovered financial records showing large sums of money being transferred to David's account from various sources. This money was believed to be from bets placed on the children's fights. Detective Mercer, who was also known for his analytical skills, carefully traced the transactions back to their sources. This led to several new leads, including people who placed bets on the fights. In addition, police have found a series of texts between David and Lara Watro. The messages were sexually explicit and revealed that David had been having an affair with Lara, beyond their involvement in adult movies. This discovery added a new layer to the case and provided the police with a potential new suspect. After discovering the hidden camera footage, the police turned their attention to Lara Watro, one of the estimated 25 women David Danne had been sexually involved with. Lara was a 21-year-old with a fierce and independent personality. She worked as a barista at a local Starbucks and was known for her intense and passionate nature. On June 17, 2017, detectives visited Lara at her apartment. It was a humid and hot morning in Tampa. Lara was initially nervous but agreed to talk. She admitted she first met David while filming an adult movie, using the name Daisy Hyman, filmed at the kindergarten where he worked. She described David as charming and persuasive, someone who could easily convince people to do what he wanted. Lara told the detectives she had grown increasingly frustrated with David. He had promised to leave his wife, Jennifer, for her, but he never did. She was angry and felt betrayed. Lara explained that she knew about David's double life, but was too scared to go to the police. She feared for her safety and said she didn't know anything about the children involved in the fight ring. During the interrogation, Lara remained calm but showed signs of emotional distress. She provided the detectives with more details about the adult movies and the fight ring. Lara revealed that David was making a lot of money from these illegal activities and that many notables in the community were involved. She gave names of individuals who placed bets on the children's fights, which gave the police several new leads to investigate. Lara's information was crucial. It helped the detectives understand the extent of David's operations and the number of people involved. Detective Mercer, known for his empathetic approach, could see that Lara was a victim in her own way. She was manipulated and used by David, much like the other women and children. Mercer assured Lara that the police would protect her if she cooperated fully with the investigation. The detectives also checked Lara's phone records and found numerous text messages and calls between her and David. These messages confirmed her story about their relationship and David's promises to leave his wife. Lara's cooperation gave the police valuable insights and led them closer to uncovering the full truth about David Danne's secret life and the people involved in his crimes. After speaking with Lara Watro, the detectives turned their focus to Jordan Alarcon Perico. Jordan was a 24-year-old single father and construction worker who had recently moved to Tampa from Cuba. He had discovered unusual bruises on his son's body and was deeply concerned. On June 18, 2017, at around 11 a.m., Detectives Maria Lopes and John Harris visited Jordan at his construction site. It was another hot, sunny day in Tampa. Jordan was tough and protective, traits that helped him survive the hardships of fleeing Cuba. When the detectives approached him, he was initially defensive but agreed to speak when they explained the situation. Jordan told the detectives that he had become suspicious when his son, Nathaniel, a student at Sunny Hills Kindergarten, came home with bruises and a scared look. Nathaniel eventually confessed that he was forced to fight other children at school or he wouldn't be fed. Jordan was furious and confronted David Danne just days before his murder. He described David as smug and dismissive during their confrontation. During the interrogation, Jordan's anger was evident. He felt betrayed by someone he trusted to care for his child. However, he maintained his innocence, insisting he did not kill David. He admitted to confronting David but claimed he walked away when David threatened to call the police on him. The detectives carefully examined Jordan's alibi for the time of David's murder. They checked his work records and spoke to his co-workers, who confirmed that Jordan was at the construction site during the time of the murder. This alibi made it unlikely that Jordan was the killer. Detective Mercer, known for his keen sense of intuition, felt that Jordan's anger was genuine but not indicative of guilt. He believed that he was a protective father who wanted to shield his son from further harm. Detective Harris, with his analytical approach, focused on verifying Jordan's statements and looking for any inconsistencies. The police also examined Jordan's phone records and found no evidence of communication with David or any of the individuals involved in the adult movies or fight ring. This further supported Jordan's claim that he was not part of David's criminal activities. Jordan's information added another layer to the investigation. It confirmed the existence of the fight ring and provided insight into the abuse the children endured. While Jordan was not the murderer, his account helped the detectives build a clearer picture of David Danne's secret and dark life. The detectives knew they were getting closer to uncovering the full truth and finding justice for the victims. On June 25, 2017, the police pieced together all the evidence and identified Jennifer Danne, David's wife, as the murderer. Jennifer was 39 years old and the stay-at-home mom devoted to their 2 teenage children. She was active in her church and often seen volunteering at local events. In short, she was the perfect woman. However, her life took a dark turn when she discovered David's numerous affairs and his involvement in filming adult movies at the kindergarten where he worked. Jennifer's world shattered further when she found out about the underground fight ring where David forced the children he cared for to fight. Driven by anger and a sense of betrayal, Jennifer decided to end David's double life. She saw herself as a biblical angel of mercy, determined to protect the children from further harm. On the evening of June 30, 2017, Jennifer confronted David at the kindergarten playground. She shot him twice with a 9mm gun and then gouged out his eyes with a knife, a symbolic act representing her disgust and anger. She believed that by doing this, she was saving the children and putting an end to David's heinous acts. Detectives worked tirelessly to connect the dots. They found traces of gunpowder on Jennifer's clothes and discovered a 9mm gun hidden in their garage. The gun matched the bullets found in David's body. Additionally, phone records showed Jennifer had discovered David's secret activities through text messages and emails she had access. On June 15, at 3 p.m., the police arrived at the Danne residence to arrest Jennifer. It was a tense and emotional scene. Jennifer appeared calm and did not resist arrest. She seemed almost relieved that her ordeal was over. Detective Lopez, known for her compassionate approach, carefully explained the charges to Jennifer, who listened quietly. The news of Jennifer's arrest shocked the community. David's double life and the truth about the kindergarten fight ring left many parents horrified. When Jennifer was taken into custody, David's family had mixed reactions. Some were angry and felt betrayed by Jennifer, while others were sympathetic, understanding the rage and horror she must have felt. Jennifer's arrest brought a sense of closure to the investigation. The detectives knew they had uncovered the full truth and brought the person responsible to justice. The case highlighted the importance of vigilance and the need to protect the innocent from those who would harm them. The trial of Jennifer Danne for the murder of her husband, David Danne, began on September 10, 2018. The courtroom was filled with reporters from local news outlets like the Tampa Bay Times and WFLA News Channel 8. The case had garnered significant attention due to the shocking nature of the crime and the revelations about David's double life. The prosecution was led by Assistant State Attorney Marquez, a 50-year-old known for his meticulous approach and strong courtroom presence. In his opening statement, Hayes painted Jennifer as a betrayed and enraged wife who sought revenge for her husband's infidelity and secret activities. He detailed how Jennifer had discovered David's affairs and his involvement in the underground fighting ring. Hayes argued that Jennifer had planned the murder meticulously, shooting David and then gouging out his eyes to make a statement. The defense attorney, Clara Mitchell, a 45-year-old with a reputation for passionately defending her clients, argued that Jennifer was a devoted wife and mother pushed to the brink by her husband's betrayal. Mitchell emphasized Jennifer's role in the community and her dedication to her family. She claimed that Jennifer had no prior history of violence and suggested that the real murderer could be one of David's associates from the fighting ring or his many affairs. The trial lasted for 3 weeks. Testimonies from witnesses, including Carla Rodriguez and Lara Watro, painted a picture of David's complicated life. The prosecution presented evidence, including the shell casings found at the scene and Jennifer's text messages expressing her anger and hurt. Throughout the trial, the Danne family's emotions ran high. Emily and Jacob, David and Jennifer's teenage children, were often seen in the courtroom, looking devastated. Friends and neighbors who had known the Dannes for years struggled to reconcile the loving family they knew with the dark secrets being revealed. On October 2, 2018, the jury delivered their verdict. Jennifer Danne was found guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom was silent as the judge read the sentence: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jennifer showed little reaction, her face pale and expressionless. The impact of the verdict was profound. David's family and friends expressed relief that justice had been served, but there was also a deep sense of loss and sorrow. The community of Tampa was left to grapple with the reality that a beloved teacher and community member had led such a double life and met such a tragic end. After Jennifer Danne was sentenced to life in prison, the community of Tampa tried to return to normal. However, the shock of David Danne's murder and the revelations of his secret life left a lasting impact on everyone involved. Jennifer Danne began her life sentence at the Florida State Prison. She maintained her innocence, often writing letters to her children, Emily and Jacob, who struggled with the loss of both parents. Jennifer's church and some friends continued to support her, believing she had been pushed to the edge by David's betrayal. Emily, 17, and Jacob, 15, moved in with their maternal grandparents. They tried to continue their lives, but the trauma of their father's death and their mother's imprisonment affected them deeply. Both teens received counseling and support from their school, Jefferson High, to help them cope with the tragedy. They found solace in activities they loved. Emily focused on her art, and Jacob immersed himself in sports, particularly soccer. Detective John Mercer and his team returned to their regular duties, but couldn't forget the Danne case. The investigation had been one of the most complex of Mercer's career. He felt a mixture of satisfaction and sorrow knowing they had solved the case, but at the cost of a family's destruction. Lara Watro, the young woman involved with David, moved away from Tampa. The media attention and public scrutiny made it impossible for her to continue her life there. She relocated to Orlando, where she started over, working at another coffee shop and taking classes at a community college. Lara remained haunted by her connection to the case, but was determined to build a new life. Jordan Alarcon Perico, the father who had confronted David about the underground fighting ring, returned to his job as a construction worker. He focused on providing a stable life for his son, who was a student at Sunny Days Kindergarten. Jordan became more involved in his son's education and activities, ensuring his child was safe and happy. The staff and students at Sunny Days Kindergarten struggled to move on from the tragedy that had occurred on their playground. The school brought in counselors to help the children and teachers deal with their grief and fear. Over time, the laughter of children playing returned to the playground, but the memory of David Danne's murder lingered. The community of Tampa, while shocked by the events, rallied together. Local organizations held fundraisers to support the Danne children and increase awareness about domestic violence and the importance of mental health. Life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the lessons learned from the Danne case remained with everyone. The story of David Danne is a tragic reminder of the hidden complexities that can lurk behind seemingly perfect lives. His double life led to a violent end, leaving a lasting impact on his family and community. Our story begins with Olive Parker, a 32-year-old ambitious and driven marketing executive who resided in the upscale neighborhood of Los Olas in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, not far from the Atlantic Ocean. She was known for her intelligence and charming personality, captivating everyone she met. Olive's dedication to her career was unwavering, and she aspired to climb the corporate ladder and make a name for herself in the marketing industry. In July of 2012, the sun-drenched city of Fort Lauderdale buzzed with excitement as Olive's life took an unexpected turn. As the summer heat intensified, Olive's days were filled with meetings at the prestigious marketing firm she worked for, where she tirelessly strategized and executed successful campaigns for renowned brands such as Coca-Cola and Nike. Despite her professional success, Olive's personal life was not without its challenges. Married to Adam Parker, a charismatic and enigmatic man, she told friends their seemingly idyllic relationship, which had once been filled with love and happiness, was now full of cracks and nearing its end. Olive's friends and colleagues noticed a change in her demeanor. The once vibrant and confident woman seemed to be slowly fading away, replaced by a shadow of her former self. Whispers of a troubled marriage and a controlling husband circulated, with rumors of infidelity and deceit. Olive, however, remained steadfast in her commitment to maintaining harmony and balance in her life. Little did Olive know that her pursuit of success and happiness would lead her down a treacherous path. As we dig deeper into the case, we will uncover the shocking events that unfolded, ultimately leading to Olive's tragic demise. It was a scorching hot and humid day in the summer of 2012, the kind of day where the air felt heavy and suffocating. The residents of Los Olas, a posh neighborhood in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, sought refuge from the searing heat in their air-conditioned homes. On this particular steamy night, the tranquility of the neighborhood was shattered by an eerie commotion emanating from Olive Parker's apartment. The sound of screams and shouting pierced the air, causing concern among the neighbors. One neighbor, Patty Reyes de Leon, a retired schoolteacher known for her nosiness, couldn't ignore the disturbing sounds any longer. She peered through her lace curtains, her curiosity piqued. As she strained to see what was happening, she noticed the front door of Olive's apartment was ajar. Mrs. Reyes de Leon's heart raced as she contemplated the possibility of danger. She hesitated for a moment, weighing the risks of getting involved. But her conscience won over, and she decided to investigate. With a sense of trepidation, Mrs. Reyes de Leon stepped out of her air-conditioned sanctuary and made her way towards Olive's apartment. The oppressive heat seemed to intensify as she approached the door, adding to her unease. As she entered the apartment, a wave of stifling heat hit her, causing sweat to bead on her forehead. The living room was dimly lit, the curtains drawn shut, creating an atmosphere of gloom and mystery. Mrs. Reyes de Leon's eyes were immediately drawn to the corpse sprawled on the floor. It was Olive Parker, her once vibrant and ambitious neighbor. The shock of the sight overwhelmed her, and she let out a shriek. Olive lay motionless, her body twisted in an unnatural position. Her once lustrous hair now clung to her sweat-soaked face. The room was filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the distant hum of the air-conditioning unit. Mrs. Reyes de Leon's hands trembled as she reached for her phone to dial 911. The dispatcher's voice on the other end was calm and reassuring, but the gravity of the situation hung heavy in the air. Within minutes, the police arrived at the scene, their sirens wailing in the distance. They cordoned off the area, keeping the curious onlookers at bay. Forensic experts meticulously combed through the apartment, collecting evidence and documenting every detail. News of Olive's tragic demise spread like wildfire through the community. The local newspapers and television stations picked up the story, captivating audiences with the chilling details of the mysterious death. Las Olas, once a haven of tranquility, was now engulfed in a cloud of fear and suspicion. Who could have done such a heinous act? Was it someone Olive knew? Or was this a random act of violence that shattered the illusion of safety? The police arrived quickly, showing how serious the situation was. Detective Suarez, who was in charge, and his team carefully looked through the crime scene. They wanted to find any clues that could help them understand how Olive died. The apartment was very clean, which made it even more mysterious. There were no signs that someone broke in. The only sign of violence was Olive's lifeless body on the floor. She had been strangled to death. Detective Suarez started by taking pictures of everything in the apartment. He wanted to make sure he didn't miss anything important. Then, he and his team started searching for fingerprints. They dusted for prints on doorknobs, windows, and other surfaces. They hoped to find a clue that would lead them to the person who killed Olive. While searching, Detective Suarez noticed something strange. There was a broken vase on the floor near Olive's body. He wondered if it had something to do with the crime. He carefully collected the broken pieces and put them in a bag for further investigation. Next, Detective Suarez checked Olive's iPhone and computer. He wanted to see if there were any messages or emails that could be helpful. He found a few text messages from someone named Sophia. Mark seemed angry and jealous. Detective Suarez thought Sophia might be a suspect. Detective Suarez and his team also talked to Olive's neighbors. They wanted to know if anyone saw or heard anything unusual on the day Olive died. One neighbor said they heard loud arguing and screaming coming from Olive's apartment. Another neighbor said they saw a man leaving the building around the same time. Detective Suarez asked for a description of the man and made a note of it. As the investigation continued, Detective Suarez knew he had a lot of work ahead of him. He had to analyze all the evidence and interview possible suspects. He hoped that by doing this, he would be able to bring justice to Olive and her family. Olive's husband, Adam Parker, was suspected of being involved in the shocking death of his wife. Adam, 35, was a lawyer who specialized in traffic accidents, a job often referred to as an ambulance chaser. He was known for his smooth talking and ability to convince people to work with him. However, behind his charming facade, Adam had deep-rooted insecurities and feelings of inadequacy. Adam's behavior towards Olive had raised concerns among their friends and family. He was possessive and often displayed signs of jealousy. Friends remembered instances where Adam would become angry if Olive talked to other men at social events. He would constantly check her phone and email, searching for any signs of infidelity. These possessive tendencies had intensified in the months leading up to Olive's tragic death. The police interrogated Adam extensively, hoping to uncover the truth behind Olive's demise. They questioned him about his whereabouts on the day of the incident and his relationship with Olive. Adam claimed to have been at work during the time of the crime, but the police were determined to verify his alibi. Detective Suarez and his team meticulously examined Adam's phone records, searching for any evidence that could support or refute his claims. They also interviewed Olive's colleagues and friends, hoping to uncover any information that could shed light on their troubled marriage. As the investigation progressed, the police discovered a series of text messages between Adam and a mysterious woman. The messages hinted at a secret affair, providing a possible motive for Olive's murder. The police obtained a search warrant for Adam's office and home, hoping to find further evidence to corroborate their suspicions. Inside Adam's office, the police found a hidden compartment in his desk containing love letters and intimate photographs of him and another woman. The discovery of this secret relationship sent shockwaves through the community and added another layer of complexity to the case. The investigation into Olive's murder was far from over. The police had uncovered a web of deceit, betrayal, and jealousy surrounding Adam and Olive's marriage. As they delved deeper into the case, they would soon discover more shocking revelations that would turn this tragic story into a true crime nightmare. Sophia Shingrix, a 28-year-old graphic designer, found herself under the scrutinizing gaze of the police as they delved deeper into the mysterious death of Olive Parker. Sophia, known for her vibrant personality and creative flair, had worked alongside Olive at a prominent marketing agency in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. As the investigation unfolded, detectives discovered a tangled web of secrets and hidden desires. Sophia had always admired Olive's intelligence and ambition,
but beneath her friendly facade, jealousy and resentment simmered. The police were determined to uncover any motive Sophia may have had for harming Olive. During the interrogation, Sophia's nervous demeanor betrayed her inner turmoil. She hesitantly admitted to a secret romance with Olive's husband, Adam Parker. The revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation, adding
a new layer of complexity to the case. Adam, a successful lawyer known for his charm, had been leading a double life. Behind closed doors, he engaged in a clandestine affair with Sophia, betraying the trust of his devoted wife. The police were astounded by this revelation as it shed light on the possible motive behind Olive's tragic end. Sophia's involvement in the affair only intensified the suspicion surrounding her. Could her feelings of jealousy and resentment have driven her to commit the ultimate act of betrayal? The detectives meticulously combed through phone records, text messages, and email exchanges, searching for any evidence that could link Sophia to the crime. The investigation took a dramatic turn when the police uncovered a series of passionate and explicit messages exchanged between Sophia and Adam. These messages revealed a toxic love triangle filled with deceit and manipulation. The detectives realized that Sophia's motive may have been fueled by a desire to eliminate Olive, removing the obstacle standing between her and Adam. As the investigation continued, the police dug deeper into Sophia's background, uncovering a troubled past marred by failed relationships and a history of emotional instability. They interviewed friends, colleagues, and acquaintances, gathering insights into her character and behavior. But the truth remained elusive. The investigation into Sophia's involvement in Olive's death continued as the police meticulously pieced together the puzzle of this twisted tale. The evidence was mounting, but would it be enough to prove her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt? As the investigation into Olive Parker's tragic death unfolded, the police were determined to leave no stone unturned. Their relentless pursuit of the truth led them to a breakthrough when a curious teenager stumbled upon an abandoned phone in a remote part of Fort Lauderdale. Little did they know that this unexpected discovery would hold the key to unraveling the mystery surrounding Olive's demise. The phone, an outdated model with a cracked screen, was carefully examined by the forensic team. They meticulously extracted every piece of information. The phone's call logs and text messages became the focus of their attention as they sought to uncover any connections to the prime suspects in the case. One particular text chain caught their eye. It was a series of exchanges between an unknown number and Adam Parker, Olive's husband. The messages hinted at a secret arrangement, with Adam offering financial support in exchange for sexual favors. The police were intrigued, realizing that this could be the missing piece of the puzzle they had been searching for. Further analysis of the phone's data revealed a hidden folder containing explicit photographs and videos. These shocking materials depicted Adam having sex with a woman who was not Olive. The woman was later identified as Sophia Shingrix, Olive's co-worker and a person of interest in the case. The police were astounded by this revelation, as it unveiled a web of deceit and betrayal that had been woven behind Olive's back. As the investigation continued, the police pieced together a timeline of events. They discovered that Adam had been paying for an apartment, using Olive's hard-earned money to sustain an illicit affair. However, this apartment apparently was not for Sophia, but someone else. This revelation painted a chilling picture of deceit and manipulation, as Adam had not only betrayed his wife, but also exploited her financially. The police were determined to bring justice to Olive Parker and expose the truth behind her tragic demise. With the newfound evidence from the abandoned phone, they were inching closer to unraveling the dark secrets that had plagued Olive's seemingly idyllic marriage. The investigation into the tragic death of Olive Parker took an unexpected turn when a new person of interest emerged. Ethan Laroney, Olive's ex-boyfriend, became the focus of the police's attention. Ethan, 34 years old, was known for his charming personality and adventurous spirit despite his struggles with drug addiction. Ethan and Olive had a tumultuous relationship in the past, and even though they had broken up, Ethan still held a deep attachment to her. He longed for a chance to win her back and couldn't let go of their shared history. But it was also revealed that Ethan had been secretly financially supported by Adam Parker, Olive's husband, in exchange for sex. The police were intrigued by this connection and wanted to uncover any motives or connections Ethan might have had to Olive's murder. They delved into Ethan's background, speaking to friends, family, and acquaintances to gather more information. One person who knew Ethan well was his childhood friend, Dean Fring. Dean described Ethan as a troubled soul who often found solace in his relationship with Olive. He recalled an incident where Ethan had expressed his desire to be with Olive again, even though she was happily married to Adam. The police also discovered that Ethan had been involved in a series of petty crimes in the past, including solicitation, mostly related to his drug addiction. They reached out to local law enforcement agencies and reviewed surveillance footage from nearby stores to see if Ethan had been in the vicinity of Olive's apartment on the day of her death. To their surprise, the police found a witness who claimed to have seen Ethan near Olive's apartment complex on the day of the crime. The witness, a store clerk, remembered Ethan because he had come into the store that day to buy cigarettes. This testimony provided a crucial piece of evidence that placed Ethan in the vicinity of the crime scene. As the investigation continued, the police obtained a search warrant for Ethan's residence. They meticulously combed through his belongings, looking for any evidence that could link him to Olive's murder. They found a diary in which Ethan had written about his deep love for Olive and his desire to be with her again, even if it meant having illicit sex with her husband. The police also discovered a hidden stash of drugs in Ethan's apartment, confirming his ongoing struggle with addiction. They wondered if his drug use had clouded his judgment and led him to commit such a heinous act. The investigation into Ethan's involvement in Olive's murder was still ongoing, and the police were determined to uncover the truth. They knew that finding concrete evidence would be crucial in bringing justice to Olive and her grieving family. In a shocking turn of events, the truth behind Olive Parker's tragic murder was finally revealed. After an extensive investigation, the police identified Olive's possessive and insecure husband, Adam Parker, as the perpetrator of this heinous crime. Adam's toxic combination of jealousy and possessiveness led him to commit the unforgivable act of murder, shattering the lives of those who knew and loved Olive. As the investigation unfolded, the police discovered that Adam's controlling behavior towards Olive had escalated in the months leading up to her murder. Friends and family members reported instances of Adam monitoring Olive's every move and isolating her from her loved ones. This pattern of possessiveness raised red flags for those who knew them well. Furthermore, the police uncovered a series of incriminating text messages and emails exchanged between Adam and Sophia Shingrix, Olive's co-worker. These messages revealed a secret affair between Adam and Sophia, adding another layer of complexity to the case. The arrest of Adam Parker sent shockwaves through the community, leaving both friends and neighbors in disbelief. The once idyllic neighborhood of Las Olas became a backdrop for a real-life crime drama, as reporters flocked to the scene to capture the aftermath of this tragic event. This case serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of possessiveness, jealousy, and control in relationships. It is a call to action for society to address the issue of domestic violence and support those who may be trapped in abusive situations. The trial that followed Olive Parker's tragic murder in July of 2012 was a significant event. The courtroom was filled with anticipation as the prosecution, led by District Attorney Lara Tomkins, presented a compelling case against Olive's possessive and insecure husband, Adam Parker. During the trial, the prosecution meticulously laid out a timeline of events, presenting evidence that highlighted Adam's toxic obsession with Olive. They showcased text messages, phone records, and witness testimonies that painted a vivid picture of Adam's jealousy and controlling behavior. The defense attorney, Mark Brinsley Coe, fought hard to cast doubt on the evidence, suggesting alternative explanations and attempting to create reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors. Throughout the trial, Olive's family sat in the courtroom, their hearts heavy with grief and anger. They listened intently to every word spoken, hoping for justice to be served. The media coverage of the trial was extensive, with reporters from prominent news outlets such as CNN and the New York Times providing daily updates on the proceedings. After days of deliberation, the jury finally reached a verdict. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the forepersons stood up to deliver the verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant, Adam Parker, guilty of first-degree murder. The foreperson announced, their voice echoing through the courtroom. The gasps of disbelief and tears of relief filled the room as Olive's family and friends embraced each other, finally finding a semblance of closure. The judge, presiding over the case, sentenced Adam Parker to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom fell silent as the weight of the sentence sank in. Adam, once a successful lawyer, would now spend the rest of his life behind bars, paying for the heinous crime he committed. The impact of the trial and its outcome reverberated through the community of Fort Lauderdale and beyond. Olive's tragic story served as a reminder of the dark side of human nature and the devastating consequences of possessiveness and jealousy. It sparked conversations about domestic violence and the importance of recognizing the signs of an unhealthy relationship. After the shocking revelation that the prosecutor and the defense attorney were involved in a secret sexual relationship, the trial of Adam Parker was deemed invalid. Olive's family, already burdened by the loss of their beloved daughter, felt betrayed by the very system that was supposed to deliver justice. They were left questioning the integrity of the legal system and wondering if they would ever find closure for Olive's tragic end. Sophia Shingrix, deeply remorseful for her role in the affair, sought therapy to help her cope with the guilt she carried. She realized that her jealousy and resentment towards Olive had clouded her judgment, leading her down a path she never intended to take. Sophia vowed to honor Olive's memory by making amends and striving to be a better person. As the community tried to move forward, the impact of the trial's invalidation continued to reverberate. People couldn't help but question the credibility of the justice system and wonder if the truth would ever be fully revealed. The case garnered attention from advocacy groups and sparked a larger conversation about the need for transparency and accountability within the legal system. Meanwhile, Adam Parker, once again a free man awaiting retrial, retreated from the public eye. He faced the harsh reality of his actions and the consequences that awaited him. The community kept a watchful eye on him, eager to see justice served and Olive's memory honored. And so, the story of Olive Parker's fatal attraction comes to a close. It serves as a chilling reminder of the depths to which jealousy and possessiveness can drive a person. As we reflect on this tragic tale, let us remember the importance of nurturing healthy relationships and seeking help when faced with toxic situations. Our story begins with Tanya Deo, a 27-year-old manager of a chain of local convenience stores, was known for her unpredictable behavior. Despite her occasional burst of tears and psychotically furious outbursts, Tanya possessed a dreamy demeanor that captivated those around her. Her family and friends described her as a woman with grand aspirations, yearning for a life filled with love and success. In the days leading up to her untimely demise, Tanya was filled with excitement and anticipation, eagerly awaiting her honeymoon in the Bahamas. Tanya's wedding day was a picturesque affair, set against the backdrop of the stunning Canadian Rockies. The ceremony took place at the historic Fairmont Palazzo Hotel, a renowned venue known for hosting extravagant events. The grandeur of the occasion was further enhanced by the presence of notable guests, including local celebrities and prominent figures from Calgary's high society. The wedding reception was a lavish affair, with an opulent feast prepared by one of Calgary's most renowned chefs. The tables were adorned with exquisite floral arrangements created by the renowned local florist, Sarah Richardson. The atmosphere was charged with excitement and joy as the guests danced to the tunes of the popular band, Duran Duran, who were at the height of their fame in 1984. However, amidst the celebration, a sense of unease lingered in the air. Tanya's erratic behavior throughout the day had raised eyebrows and whispered concerns among the attendees. Some speculated that the pressure of the wedding had taken its toll on her, while others whispered about a troubled past that haunted her. As the evening progressed, Tanya's mood seemed to darken. She retreated to a secluded corner of the reception hall, tears streaming down her face. Concerned friends and family members attempted to console her, but their efforts were in vain. Tanya's anguish seemed impenetrable, as if she carried a burden that no one could understand. Little did anyone know that this would be the last time they would see Tanya alive. In the early hours of the following morning, tragedy struck. Tanya Deo was found lifeless in her hotel room, her dreams of a blissful honeymoon shattered. And so, the investigation begins. What led to Tanya's untimely demise? Was it a case of foul play or a tragic accident? In the heart of Calgary, a city known for its picturesque landscapes and vibrant culture, a shocking crime unfolded on a day that was meant to be filled with joy and celebration. Tanya Deo, a 27-year-old manager of a chain of local convenience stores, was about to embark on a new chapter of her life as a married woman. Little did she know that her wedding day would be marred by tragedy, leaving a community in shock and searching for answers. Tanya, described as a woman with a mix of unpredictable behavior and a dreamy demeanor, had captured the attention of those around her. Her family and friends knew her as someone with grand aspirations, yearning for a life filled with love and success. As the days leading up to her wedding approached, Tanya's excitement and anticipation were palpable. The couple had planned a romantic honeymoon in the Bahamas, a destination that symbolized the beginning of their journey together. But fate had a different plan in store for Tanya and her newlywed husband, Rick Deo. Just 2 hours before they were scheduled to depart for their dream honeymoon, tragedy struck. Tanya's lifeless body was discovered in the honeymoon suite, her head brutally smashed against the shower wall, forever shattering the dreams and hopes of a promising future. Rick, who had returned to the suite to retrieve his forgotten wallet, was the one to stumble upon the gruesome scene. The shock and horror of this discovery overwhelmed him, leaving the community divided on his reaction. Some witnesses claimed that Rick appeared strangely calm and collected, while others insisted that he was visibly shaken and distraught, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the tragedy that had befallen his beloved bride. As the investigation into Tanya's untimely demise unfolded, the authorities meticulously combed through every detail, leaving no stone unturned. The search for the truth behind Tanya Deo's tragic end continues. As investigators delve into the case, they uncover a web of secrets and hidden motives that could hold the key to unraveling this chilling mystery. The police swiftly responded to the distressing scene at the honeymoon suite, determined to uncover the truth behind the tragic death of Tanya Deo. Led by seasoned investigators, detectives Greg Johnson and Pierre Rambeau, the team meticulously examined every inch of the crime scene, leaving no stone unturned. The suite, once a place of joy and anticipation, had transformed into a chilling sight, with bloodstains marking the walls like a macabre canvas. The investigators discovered that Tanya had met a violent end, her life cruelly taken by blunt force trauma to her head. The murder weapon, shockingly, was believed to be the shower wall itself. This revelation sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Calgary, Alberta, as they grappled with the horrifying reality that such a heinous crime could occur in their midst. As the investigation unfolded, the police meticulously combed through the suite, collecting and cataloging every piece of evidence. They meticulously documented each detail, creating a comprehensive record of the crime scene. The room was meticulously photographed, capturing the bloodstains, the shattered glass, and the haunting stillness that hung in the air. Detectives Johnson and Rambo interviewed witnesses, friends, and family members, piecing together the events leading up to Tanya's untimely demise. They retraced her steps from the moment she woke up on that fateful day to the tragic discovery of her lifeless body. The investigators examined Tanya's personal belongings, searching for any clues that might shed light on the motive behind this senseless act of violence. News of the murder spread through the city, captivating the attention of the public. The local newspapers, such as the Calgary Herald, dedicated coverage to the case, with headlines that screamed of a shocking crime that had shattered the tranquility of the city. Television news programs, like CBC News, dedicated segments to the investigation, urging anyone with information to come forward. The police, driven by a relentless pursuit of justice, worked tirelessly to solve the case. They consulted forensic experts, analyzed fingerprints, and conducted interviews with potential suspects. The investigation took them down a labyrinth of leads and possibilities, each one meticulously examined and evaluated. As the days turned into weeks, the city of Calgary remained on edge, anxiously awaiting answers to the questions that haunted their collective consciousness. Who could have committed such a heinous act? Was it a crime of passion, or was there something more sinister at play? The investigators remained tight-lipped, their determination unwavering, as they continued to piece together the puzzle that was Tanya Debinko's murder. The primary suspect in the gruesome crime that shocked the city of Calgary in August 1984 was none other than Rick Debinko, the newlywed husband of the late Tanya Debinko. As the investigation unfolded, all eyes turned to Rick, a 28-year-old man of reserved demeanor and few words. The police, driven by their determination to uncover the truth, delved into Rick's life, searching for any hidden secrets that might shed light on the tragic events that unfolded on that fateful day. Rick Debinko, a man with a calm exterior that belied the storm within, found himself under intense scrutiny. The detectives, led by the seasoned investigators Detectives Johnson and Rambo, interrogated Rick extensively in an effort to discern any signs of guilt or involvement. The interrogation room, a sterile and dimly lit space, became the battleground where truth and deception clashed. During the grueling questioning, Rick maintained his innocence, his voice steady and unwavering. The detectives probed into his background, meticulously piecing together the puzzle of his life. They discovered that Rick had grown up in a small town on the outskirts of Calgary, where he had led a relatively unremarkable existence. He had attended the local high school, graduating with average grades and no notable achievements. In the months leading up to the ill-fated wedding, Rick had been working as a junior accountant at a prominent firm in downtown Calgary. His colleagues described him as a diligent worker, always punctual and meticulous in his tasks. However, his reserved nature had made it difficult for them to truly know him on a personal level. As the detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a few peculiar details about Rick's life. They discovered that he had recently purchased a life insurance policy, naming Tanya as the beneficiary. This revelation raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about Rick's motives. Was he driven by a desire for financial gain? Or was there another, more sinister reason behind his actions? As the investigation into the tragic death of Tanya Debinko unfolded, a new suspect emerged, adding another layer of complexity to the case. This potential suspect was none other than Frank Pelly, Jr., a well-respected hockey coach at the local high school and the father of the deceased bride. Frank's involvement in this chilling crime stemmed from a shocking revelation that took place just moments before the wedding ceremony. It was on that fateful day in February of 1984 when Frank stumbled upon an illicit affair between Rick Debinko, Tanya's newlywed husband, and Maria Janet Bosco, one of the bridesmaids. The discovery of this affair left Frank seething with anger and a burning desire for revenge. Eyewitnesses recounted the scene with vivid detail, describing Frank's face turning red with fury as he confronted the illicit couple. The tension in the air was palpable as Frank's booming voice echoed through the halls of the wedding venue. The fallout from this explosive confrontation reverberated through Calgary, Alberta. Rumors spread like wildfire, fueled by the local media's insatiable appetite for scandalous stories. The incident quickly became news, capturing the attention of residents as they sipped their Tim Hortons coffee and flipped through the pages of the Calgary Herald. As the police delved deeper into the case, they meticulously examined Frank's possible motives and involvement in Tanya's murder. They uncovered a man consumed by anger and a burning desire for justice. Frank's love for his daughter was undeniable, but did this love extend to the unthinkable act of murder? Investigators combed through Frank's personal life, interviewing friends, family, and colleagues. they discovered a history of heated arguments and moments of explosive rage. Frank's reputation as a passionate hockey coach was juxtaposed with this darker side, leaving many wondering if his fiery temperament had crossed a line. The investigation into Frank's possible involvement in Tanya's murder continued, with detectives painstakingly gathering evidence and piecing together the puzzle of that fateful day. The truth remained elusive, hidden beneath layers of secrets and emotions. As the community held its breath, waiting for answers, one thing became clear: the search for justice in the case of Tanya Deo murder was far from over. The quest to uncover the truth would require perseverance, determination, and a relentless pursuit of justice. In the ongoing investigation into the shocking murder of Tanya Deo, a new suspect emerged, casting doubt on the previously considered individuals. Maria Janet Bosco, the bridesmaid and alleged lover of Tanya's husband, Rick Deo, found herself under the intense scrutiny of the police. Maria, a 25-year-old woman entangled in a web of forbidden love and deceit, became a person of interest in this perplexing case. Maria Janet Bosco, a young woman with a captivating presence, had long been a close friend of Tanya's. Their friendship blossomed during their high school years, where they shared countless memories and dreams for the future. However, as the investigation unfolded, it became evident that their friendship had taken a dark turn. Sources close to the investigation revealed that Maria had been engaged in an illicit sexual affair with Rick Deo, Tanya's newlywed husband. The revelation of this clandestine relationship sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Calgary, Alberta. Rumors of their secret rendezvous spread like wildfire, leaving many questioning the true nature of their involvement. It was on the day of Tanya's wedding, just moments before the ceremony, that Frank Pelly, Jr., Tanya's father, and a respected hockey coach at the local high school, stumbled upon Rick and Maria engaged in sex. The sight of his daughter's husband betraying her trust ignited a fire within Frank, fueling his desire for revenge. As the police turned their attention to Maria, they sought to understand the depths of her motives. Was she driven by a consuming love for Rick, or was there something more sinister at play? Detectives meticulously combed through her personal belongings, uncovering a series of love letters exchanged between Maria and Rick, revealing the intensity of their forbidden romance. During the interrogation, Maria's demeanor varied, leaving the investigators puzzled and uncertain. At times, she appeared remorseful, her eyes welling up with tears as she recounted the events that led to Tanya's untimely demise. Yet, in the next moment, her gaze hardened and her words became guarded, hinting at a hidden truth that she was unwilling to reveal. As the investigation continued, the police were determined to uncover the truth behind Tanya Deo's murder. They left no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice, meticulously examining each piece of evidence and questioning every potential suspect. After an exhaustive investigation spanning several months, the truth behind Tanya Deo's tragic death finally came to light. The shocking revelation that her own husband, Rick Deo, was responsible for her murder sent shockwaves through the community of Calgary, Alberta. Rick Deo, a 28-year-old man of seemingly calm demeanor, had evidence pointing to his guilt. The motive behind this heinous crime was rooted in a web of deceit and infidelity. It was discovered that Rick had been engaged in an illicit affair with Maria Janet Bosco, one of the bridesmaids in Tanya's wedding party. According to Rick's account, Tanya confronted him with a knife, leaving him with no choice but to defend himself. In a fit of rage and self-preservation, he claimed to have struck Tanya with a fatal blow to the head, using the shower wall as the murder weapon. The grisly scene that awaited Rick when he returned to the honeymoon suite to retrieve his forgotten wallet would forever haunt the memories of those involved in this chilling case. Throughout the investigation, detectives meticulously combed through the evidence, leaving no stone unturned. The police discovered crucial details that solidified Rick's guilt, including forensic evidence linking him to the murder weapon and witnesses who testified to his volatile relationship with Tanya. In the aftermath of this tragic event, questions still lingered. What could have driven a seemingly calm and reserved man like Rick Deo to commit such a heinous act? How did Tanya's discovery of the affair push him to the brink of violence? These questions may never be fully answered, leaving us to reflect on the dark complexities of human nature and the devastating consequences that can arise from secrets and betrayal. On February 13, 1984, the Calgary Police Department made a significant breakthrough in the investigation into the murder of Tanya Deo. After weeks of tireless work and relentless pursuit of justice, they finally apprehended the prime suspect, Rick Deo, Tanya's husband. The arrest took place in the early hours of the morning, as the sun began to rise over the city. Under the watchful eyes of the law, Rick was taken into custody without incident. The scene outside the Dubinko residence was filled with a sense of both relief and sadness, as Tanya's family and friends gathered to witness the moment that would mark a turning point in their quest for justice. As news of the arrest spread, the city of Calgary was captivated by the shocking revelations surrounding the case. The story entered the local newspapers, such as the Calgary Herald and the Calgary Sun, as well as local TV news outlets like the CBC and CTV. The community was left reeling from the realization that a seemingly ordinary couple had been harboring such dark secrets. The arrest of Rick Dubinko sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Calgary. Residents, still reeling from the recent Winter Olympics held in their city, were forced to confront the harsh reality that even in the aftermath of a successful international event, tragedy could strike close to home. The juxtaposition of the joy and celebration of the Olympics with the somberness of Tanya's murder created a palpable sense of unease among the residents. The Dubinko family, although relieved by the arrest, knew that their journey towards healing was far from over. They would forever carry the weight of Tanya's loss, but they were determined to honor her memory and find a way to move forward. In February of 1984, the courtroom became the stage for the dramatic conclusion of the tragic tale surrounding the murder of Tanya Dubinko. The prosecution, led by seasoned attorney prosecutor Helga Portescu, presented a compelling case against the prime suspect, Rick Dubinko. With a mix of emotions, the victim's family watched as justice was sought for their beloved daughter. Prosecutor Portescu meticulously laid out the evidence, painting a vivid picture of Rick's guilt. She called upon witnesses who testified to Rick's affair with Maria Janet Bosco, the bridesmaid, and the motive it provided for Tanya's murder. The courtroom was captivated as the prosecution presented phone records, hotel receipts, and eyewitness accounts, all pointing to Rick's involvement in the heinous crime. Defense attorney Sully Daniels, a skilled lawyer known for his ability to cast doubt, countered the prosecution's argument. He questioned the reliability of the witnesses, suggesting they had their own motives for testifying against Rick. Daniels argued that the evidence presented was circumstantial and did not definitively prove Rick's guilt. The trial lasted for weeks, with both sides passionately presenting their case. The victim's family, their hearts heavy with grief, anxiously awaited the verdict that would determine the fate of their daughter's murderer. The media surrounding the trial was intense, with reporters from local newspapers and television stations providing updates on the proceedings. Finally, on a fateful day in February, the jury reached a decision. The courtroom fell silent as the verdict was read aloud. The judge, swayed by Rick's claims of self-defense, handed down a sentence that left many stunned. Rick Dubinko was found guilty of manslaughter, but due to the circumstances surrounding the crime, he received a lenient sentence of only 2 months in prison. The decision sparked a wave of controversy and debate. Some felt that justice had not been served, questioning the validity of the self-defense claim and the leniency of the sentence. The victim's family, torn between relief that Rick would face some form of consequence and anguish over the perceived injustice, struggled to find closure. As the trial came to a close, the effects of the verdict rippled through the lives of those involved. The victim's family, forever altered by the loss of their daughter, grappled with their perception of the justice system. The media coverage surrounding the trial slowly faded away, but the impact of Tanya Dubinko's tragic death would forever be etched in the memories of those who followed the case. In the aftermath of the trial, life moved on for those involved in this tragic tale. Rick Dubinko, the man responsible for Tanya's untimely death, served his 2-month sentence behind bars. The walls of the correctional facility became his new reality, a stark reminder of the consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, Tanya's family, forever changed by the loss of their beloved daughter, found solace in their shared memories and the support of their community. They leaned on each other for strength, finding comfort in the knowledge that justice had been served, albeit with a lenient sentence. The scars left by Rick's violent act would forever haunt them, but they vowed to honor Tanya's memory by advocating for victims of domestic violence. The investigation team, led by Detectives Johnson and Rambo, continued their relentless pursuit of justice. Although the trial had concluded, their work was far from over. They were determined to ensure that cases like Tanya's would not be forgotten, and that perpetrators of such heinous crimes would be held accountable. The echoes of Tanya's murder reverberated through the lives of those involved in the investigation. The team meticulously documented every detail, creating a comprehensive case file that would serve as a reminder of the brutality and tragedy that occurred in February of 1984. Their dedication to seeking the truth was unwavering, and their efforts garnered attention from the media and the public alike. As life moved on for those involved, the scars left by this tragic tale would forever shape their future endeavors. Rick Deo, haunted by the weight of his actions, would carry the burden of his crime for the rest of his life. Tanya's family, determined to honor her memory, would continue to advocate for victims of domestic violence, ensuring that her story would not be forgotten. And the investigation team, driven by their pursuit of justice, would remain vigilant, ensuring that cases like Tanya's would always be remembered. As we close this chapter of True Crime Case Files, we reflect on the chilling tale of Tanya Deo's murder. Set against the backdrop of a wedding gone awry, this story serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most joyous occasions. The consequences of betrayal and unchecked emotions can lead to devastating outcomes, forever altering the lives of those involved. This is the story of a beloved teacher's tragic end, and how her husband's jealous obsession turned deadly. Dr. Vivian Severn was 42 years old. She lived in Fort Collins, Colorado, with her husband, Robert Severn. She was an English professor at a local college and known for her charismatic and engaging teaching style. Vivian was especially passionate about British interwar literature and was a noted expert in the field. She loved her job and was popular among her students, often inviting them to her home overnight to help them with their assignments. Vivian was married to Robert Severn, who owned a chain of laundromats called Clean Spin, which was popular with the local students. Their marriage, however, had been strained recently due to rumors of Vivian's infidelities. Despite this, they had been married for 15 years and shared many happy memories together. Robert, 45, was known for his upright behavior and attention to detail. He was reserved and private, often keeping to himself. Outside of work, Vivian enjoyed hiking in the nearby Rocky Mountain National Park and was an active leader of the Fort Collins Book Club. She had a wide circle of friends and was known for her lively personality and infectious laugh. Vivian's was writing a 700-page book called From Brightest Head to Lehman, Interwar Literature's Role in Historical Erotic Fiction, combining her love for teaching and research. In the days leading up to her death, Vivian was busy grading final papers and preparing for the summer semester while also finishing up her book. She was also planning a hiking trip with her friends to celebrate the end of the school year. Her colleagues noticed that she seemed excited and full of energy, looking forward to the break. She had recently posted on Facebook about a new book she was reading and shared photos from a hiking trip on Instagram. Vivian's students admired her dedication and passion. She often invited them to her office for extra help and encouraged them to discuss their ideas and opinions freely. Her office was filled with books, papers, and photos from her travels, reflecting her love for literature and adventure of all kinds. Vivian's life was full of promise, but beneath the surface, there were tensions and secrets that would soon lead to a tragic end. Her story is a reminder of how even the most seemingly perfect lives can be shattered by jealousy and obsession. On the morning of May 15, 2019, the sun had just risen over Fort Collins, casting a warm glow on the college campus. At around 7:30 a.m., Hank Murphy, a janitor at the college, began his routine cleaning rounds. Hank was a familiar face to everyone on campus, known for his friendly demeanor and dedication to keeping the building spotless. As Hank entered the English department, he noticed that Dr. Vivian Severn's office door was slightly ajar. This was unusual, as Vivian was typically meticulous about locking her door. Curious and concerned, Hank knocked gently but received no response. He pushed the door open and was met with a sight that would haunt him forever. Vivian was slumped over her desk, her body motionless. There were 2 visible gunshot wounds and blood had cooled around her. Papers and books were scattered across the desk, some stained with blood. The room was eerily silent. Hank's heart raced as he took in the scene. He stumbled backward, nearly dropping his cleaning supplies. After a few seconds of shock, he regained his composure and rushed to the nearest phone to call campus security. His hands trembled as he dialed the number, and his voice shook as he reported the discovery. The campus security officer on duty immediately dispatched a team to Dr. Severn's office and called the local police. Within minutes, the wail of sirens could be heard approaching the campus. When the police arrived, they found Hank sitting on a bench outside the building, his face pale and his eyes wide with shock. The lead investigator approached him, taking note of his distressed state. Hank recounted his discovery, his voice still shaking. He described finding Vivian slumped over the desk with blood all around, and how he had immediately called for help. The news of Dr. Severn's death spread quickly across the campus. Students and faculty were in shock. unable to comprehend the tragedy that had befallen their beloved professor. The local news stations soon picked up the story, briefly noting her death on the nightly newscast. The discovery of Vivian's body marked the beginning of a complex investigation that would uncover dark secrets and lead to an unexpected conclusion. The police arrived quickly after the call from campus security on May 15, 2019. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant led the team. Known for her keen eye and calm demeanor, she was experienced in handling tough cases. The scene at Dr. Vivian Severn's office was shocking. There were bloodstains on her desk and papers scattered everywhere. The room looked like a chaotic mix of a crime scene and a busy professor's office. The first thing the police did was secure the area, making sure no one could enter or leave. They carefully photographed everything before touching anything. Detective Lynn Bryant and her team looked for clues, starting with the bullet casings. They found 2 casings from a small caliber handgun near Vivian's desk. The trajectory of the shots suggested that the killer was standing close to Vivian when she was shot. The investigators also collected items that might be useful for evidence. They took Vivian's computer or cell phone and several personal items from her desk. Detective Lynn Bryant hoped these items would provide clues about who might have wanted to harm Vivian. Forensics experts were called in to examine the bloodstains and other physical evidence. They took samples to analyze back at the lab. The police also dusted for fingerprints, looking for any that didn't belong to Vivian or the janitor who found her. While the investigation continued inside, other officers started talking to people outside the building. They interviewed students, faculty, and staff, trying to piece together Vivian's last moments. Many people were shocked and confused, unable to believe that such a respected professor could be the victim of such a violent crime. Detective Lynn Bryant also reviewed security camera footage from around the campus. She hoped to spot anyone suspicious entering or leaving the building around the time of the murder. The footage showed some people entering and exiting the building, but nothing immediately suspicious. The police knew they had a tough case ahead. Vivian was well-liked, but the rumors about her personal life meant that there could be many potential suspects. Detective Lynn Bryant and her team prepared to dig deeper into Vivian's life, her relationships, and her secrets. They hoped that by understanding more about her, they could find the person responsible for her death. As the sun set over Fort Collins, the police wrapped up their initial investigation at the crime scene. They had gathered a lot of information, but many questions remained. The investigation was just beginning, and Detective Lynn Bryant knew they had a long road ahead to find justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. The investigation quickly turned to Vivian Severn's husband, Robert Severn, as the primary suspect. Robert, 45, was a successful businessman who owned a chain of laundromats called Clean Spin, which was popular with students in Fort Collins. Despite his professional success, Robert was known to be reserved and private. Friends and family had noticed his increasing jealousy and obsession over rumors of Vivian's infidelities. This made him an immediate person of interest for the police. On the evening of May 16, 2019, Robert was brought in for questioning at the Fort Collins police station. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant led the interrogation. Robert appeared calm, but there was a tense air about him. The detective started by asking Robert about his relationship with Vivian. He admitted that their marriage had been strained due to the rumors about her affairs with students. Robert provided an alibi, stating that he was at home the night of Vivian's murder, working on financial reports for Clean Spin. However, when asked if anyone could confirm his alibi, Robert struggled to provide a solid witness. This raised more suspicions among the detectives. During the interrogation, Robert's demeanor shifted. He became defensive when the detectives pressed him about his whereabouts and his feelings about Vivian's alleged affairs. He repeatedly denied having any involvement in her death, but his evasive answers only made the detectives more suspicious. The police also looked into Robert's financial records and phone logs. They found several calls and texts between Robert and Vivian in the days leading up to her death, many of which were heated arguments about the rumors. This added to the detectives' theory that Robert's jealousy and obsession could have driven him to commit the crime. Detective Lynn Bryant and her team continued to press Robert for more information, hoping to find inconsistencies in his story. They also searched the Severn home for any evidence that might link Robert to the crime. They found a handgun that matched the caliber of the bullets used in Vivian's murder. This was a significant piece of evidence, but it wasn't enough to make an arrest without further proof linking Robert to the actual shooting. While the police continued to investigate other leads, Robert remained a key suspect. His behavior, the strained marriage, and the discovery of the handgun all pointed towards him. However, the detectives knew they needed more concrete evidence to make an arrest. The investigation was far from over, and the police were determined to find justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. On May 18, 2019, a clear and sunny day in Fort Collins, a significant piece of evidence surfaced. Around 10:00 a.m., campus security found a flash drive in the parking lot near the English department. It had fallen out of a backpack left behind by one of Dr. Vivian Severn's students. The flash drive was quickly handed over to the police for investigation. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant and her team examined the contents of the flash drive. To their shock, they found dozens of videos of Dr. Vivian Severn engaging in sexual activities with students both in her office and at her home. These videos confirmed the rumors about Vivian's infidelities and added a new layer to the case. It appeared that Vivian had been sexually involved in relationships with her entire class, way beyond professional boundaries. The police analyzed the videos for clues about the murder. They looked at timestamps, locations, and other details that might help identify who had access to the footage and who could have a motive for murder. The most recent video, recorded just hours before Vivian's death, showing her in a threesome with a pair of twins, Tanner and Laney Taylor, who were two of Vivian's top students. The police also traced the origin of the videos. They discovered that the recordings had been made using hidden cameras in Vivian's office as well as in her bedroom and bathroom of her house. The detectives expanded their investigation to include anyone who might have had access to Vivian's office and home. As the investigation continued, Detective Lynn Bryant's team analyzed the digital data from the flash drive. They looked for fingerprints, checked the metadata of the files, and searched for any connections to other suspects. This new evidence complicated the case, revealing that Vivian's relationships were even more tangled than initially thought. The videos provided a clearer motive for the murder: jealousy and revenge. With the flash drive's discovery, the police had a critical piece of the puzzle. It suggested that the killer was someone who knew about Vivian's secret life and was deeply affected by it. The investigation was becoming more complex, but they were determined to follow every lead. The new evidence pointed police towards a network of relationships and secrets that could unravel the mystery behind Vivian's tragic death. The police turned their attention to Tanner and Laney Taylor. Tanner and Laney were 19-year-old twins and two of Dr. Vivian Severn's top students. Known for their charm and good looks, they were often seen together around campus. Several videos on the flash drive showed them both having sex with Vivian, raising suspicions about their involvement in her death. On May 19, 2019, the police brought Tanner and Laney in for questioning. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant led the interrogation. Tanner and Laney seemed nervous but cooperative. They admitted to having a sexual relationship with Vivian, often spending extra time in her office under the pretense of needing academic help because they had dyslexia. They also claimed that their sexual relationship with Vivian was necessary, because in Vivian's class sexual performance made up 80% of the grade. The police asked the twins about their whereabouts on the night of Vivian's death. Tanner said he was studying at the library, while Laney said she was at a friend's house. The police checked their alibis, but neither could be confirmed with certainty. This made the detectives more suspicious of the twins. The police also looked into the Taylors' backgrounds. They were well-liked by their peers and had no history of violence or criminal activity. However, their close relationship with Vivian and the videos on the flash drive made them key suspects. Detective Lynn Bryant and her team searched the twins' dorm room for any evidence linking them to the murder. They found several items belonging to Vivian, including a book and a scarf, which raised further questions about their relationship. However, they did not find any direct evidence linking the twins to the murder weapon or the crime scene. The police also analyzed the digital data from the flash drive to see if Tanner or Laney had accessed it. The results were inconclusive, as the flash drive had been used by multiple devices. This made it difficult to determine who had planted the hidden camera in Vivian's office. Throughout the investigation, Tanner and Laney maintained their innocence. They expressed shock and sadness over Vivian's death and insisted they had nothing to do with it. Despite their denials, the police continued to consider them key suspects due to their close relationship with Vivian and their presence in the incriminating videos. As the investigation continued, Detective Lynn Bryant and her team knew they had to find more concrete evidence to either prove or disprove the twins' involvement in Vivian's murder. The case was becoming more complicated, and the police were determined to follow every lead to find justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. With the investigation still open, the police turned their attention to Dr. Jonathan Brooks. Dr. Brooks was a 50-year-old professor specializing in ancient Phoenician history. Known for his strict demeanor and high academic standards, he had a reputation for being difficult to work with. Despite this, his dedication to his field was undeniable. There were rumors of a professional rivalry between Jonathan and Vivian, and some even suggested they had once been romantically involved. On May 20, 2019, the police brought Dr. Brooks in for questioning. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant led the interrogation. Dr. Brooks was calm and cooperative, although he seemed slightly irritated by the situation. He admitted to having a professional rivalry with Vivian, but he denied any romantic involvement. He described their relationship as strictly academic and very competitive. When asked about his whereabouts on the night of Vivian's murder, Dr. Brooks said he was at home grading papers. He provided a list of students whose work he had graded, but this alibi was hard to verify. The police noted his irritation but continued to press him for more information. Dr. Brooks revealed that he and Vivian had been engaged in a strange competition, seeing who could have sex with more students during the school year. He said it was all in good fun and claimed he was serious about it, but not enough to kill her. However, the police found this revelation extremely disturbing and considered it a possible motive. If, as he said, Vivian had won the competition shortly before her death, it could have created tension between them. The police also searched Dr. Brooks' office and home for any evidence linking him to the murder. They found several personal items belonging to Vivian, including a pen and a notebook. However, these items were not enough to directly link him to the crime. They did not find any weapons or anything that would suggest he was involved in her death. As the investigation continued, the police looked into Dr. Brooks' digital activities. They examined his emails and social media for any signs of animosity towards Vivian. They found a few heated exchanges about academic matters, but nothing that pointed to a motive for murder. Throughout the interrogation, Dr. Brooks maintained his innocence. He expressed shock and sadness over Vivian's death and insisted he had nothing to do with it. Despite his cooperation, the police remained suspicious due to his rivalry with Vivian and the strange competition they have been engaged in. Detective Lynn Bryant and her team knew they had to find more concrete evidence to either prove or disprove Dr. Brooks' involvement in Vivian's murder. The case was becoming increasingly complex, and the police were determined to follow every lead to find justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. On May 22, 2019, the police received a breakthrough in the case. They discovered new evidence that pointed directly to Robert Severn, Vivian's husband. The evidence came from a detailed analysis of the flash drive found earlier. Hidden in the metadata of one of the videos was a timestamp showing that Robert had accessed the files an hour and a half before Vivian's murder. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant and her team pieced together the timeline. Robert's obsession with Vivian's affairs had reached a boiling point. He found out about the sexual relationships with all of her students and felt humiliated and betrayed. The night of the murder, he traveled to Vivian's office to confront her. In a fit of rage, he shot her twice with a handgun he took from their home. The police had enough evidence to arrest Robert. On the morning of May 23, 2019, they arrived at his house. Robert was in the living room, looking anxious. When the police told him he was under arrest for the murder of his wife, he did not resist. He seemed resigned, as if he had been expecting this moment. Robert's arrest shocked the community. Vivian's colleagues and students were stunned to learn that her husband was the killer. Many had suspected him, but the confirmation was still hard to accept. The Severn family was devastated. They had hoped that Robert was innocent and were now grappling with the reality of his actions. During the interrogation, Robert confessed to the crime. He explained how he had been driven to madness by Vivian's betrayals. He couldn't stand the thought of her having sex with all of her students, and in a moment of uncontrollable anger, he killed her. Robert's confession was detailed and left no doubt about his guilt. Vivian's family had mixed reactions to Robert's arrest. They were relieved that the killer had been caught, but the pain of losing Vivian was still fresh. They struggled with the idea that someone so close to her could have committed such a horrific act. The community of Fort Collins also reacted with a mix of relief and sadness. Many people gathered to support Vivian's family during this difficult time. The police wrapped up the investigation. Having found the murderer, they have followed every lead and piece of evidence to bring justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. The case was closed, but the impact of the tragedy would linger in the hearts of those who knew her. As Robert awaited trial, the town of Fort Collins began to heal. The community came together to remember Vivian's contributions and the positive impact she had on her students and colleagues. Her legacy would live on, even as they dealt with the painful truth about her death. In January 2022, delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the trial of Robert Severn finally began at the Larimer County Courthouse in Fort Collins, Colorado. The courtroom was packed with media, family members, and curious locals. The prosecution was led by District Attorney and Bay Area transplant Tabitha Quasimodo, known for her meticulous approach and determination to seek justice. Quasimodo presented a strong case against Robert, detailing his motive, opportunity, and the digital evidence that linked him to Vivian's murder. Quasimodo argued that Robert's jealousy and obsession with Vivian's infidelities drove him to commit the crime. He called several witnesses to the stand, including detectives who worked on the case and experts who explained the metadata from the flash drive. The prosecution painted a clear picture of a man pushed to his breaking point by his wife's actions. The defense was handled by Robert's attorney, Lisa Martin, a 38-year-old with a reputation for being a tough and clever lawyer. Martin argued that Robert had been under immense emotional stress and had not acted with premeditation. She tried to cast doubt on the reliability of the digital evidence and suggested that someone else could have planted it to frame Robert. Throughout the trial, Vivian's family watched with heavy hearts. They were torn between their love for Robert and their need for justice for Vivian. The emotional toll was evident as they listened to the graphic details of the case and the arguments from both sides. The trial lasted for 3 weeks with intense media coverage and daily updates in local newspapers and on news channels like NBC and CNN. On February 4, 2022, the jury reached a verdict. The courtroom was silent as the foreperson announced that Robert Severn was found guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict brought a mix of relief and sorrow to Vivian's family. They were glad that justice had been served, but devastated by the loss of both Vivian and Robert. The community of Fort Collins reacted with a sense of closure. Many felt that the trial had revealed the deep complexities and dark secrets behind Vivian's seemingly perfect life. The case had sparked conversations about relationships, mental health, and the pressures faced by individuals in both personal and professional spheres. In the weeks following the verdict, Vivian's friends and colleagues held a memorial service to honor her memory. They focused on her contributions to the academic community and her positive impact on her students. The service was a reminder of the bright, dedicated person she was, despite the tragic circumstances of her death. As Robert began his life sentence, the Severn family struggled to move forward. The trial had taken a toll on everyone involved, but they hoped to find some peace in knowing that justice had been served for Vivian. After Robert Severn was sentenced to life in prison in February 2022, life slowly began to return to normal in Fort Collins. The community, shaken by the tragic events, started to heal. Dr. Vivian Severn's family faced the difficult task of moving on without her. They continued to honor her memory by setting up a scholarship fund for students studying literature, ensuring her legacy lived on. Vivian's colleagues at the university found it hard to return to their daily routines. Many of them attended counseling sessions to cope with the loss and the shocking revelations of the case. The English department, where Vivian had taught, dedicated a reading room in her name and worked together to finish and publish her book, From Brideshead to Lehman, interwar literature's role in historical erotic fiction. Robert Severn began serving his life sentence in the Colorado State Penitentiary. He spent his days in solitary confinement, reflecting on his actions. The media coverage of the trial and his imprisonment continued to follow him, but over time, public interest waned. His friends and remaining family members visited him occasionally, but the visits became less frequent as the months passed. Tanner and Laney Taylor, the students involved in the scandal, struggled with the aftermath of the trial. They faced backlash from their peers in the community. Despite their involvement being revealed, they tried to continue their studies. Both received counseling to help them deal with the trauma and the intense scrutiny they faced. Over time, they managed to rebuild their lives, but the events left a lasting impact on them. Dr. Jonathan Brooks, who had been a suspect in the investigation, returned to his teaching position. Although cleared of any wrongdoing in Vivian's murder, his reputation had taken a hit. He focused on his work, distancing himself from the scandal as much as possible. His colleagues were supportive, but the shadow of the events lingered. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant and her team were commended for their work in solving the case. They continued to serve the Fort Collins community, using the experience to handle future cases with even greater care and precision. The department implemented new training programs to better handle sensitive cases involving personal relationships and digital evidence. The Fort Collins community, though scared by the events, grew closer. People became more aware of the pressures and mental health issues faced by those around them. Local organizations and schools started offering more support services, aiming to prevent such tragedies in the future. The tragic death of Dr. Vivian Severn revealed a complex web of secrets and lies, ultimately driven by jealousy and obsession. Cody McAllister was a 29-year-old software developer working at Cisco in Santa Rosa, California. He was known for his dry wit, his love of classic cars, and his attention to detail. His friends described him as both a bit of a perfectionist and someone with a warm, caring side. He was proud of his career at Cisco, and with Silicon Valley booming in 2019, Cody's future looked bright. He was the oldest of two siblings, with a younger sister named Rachel. The two had always had a complicated relationship, with Rachel's rebellious nature and twin drug and alcohol addictions clashing against Cody's sober, structured life. Despite their differences, Cody had always tried to support his sister, especially when their parents passed away a few years earlier. Cody had always wanted to find the perfect partner, and in early 2019, he finally found her in Lily, a freelance fashion designer. Their relationship was intense and moved fast. Within months, they were married. Friends and family were surprised at how quickly everything happened. Cody was usually more careful, but he believed he had found the one. Lily was calm, stylish, and creative. A stark contrast to Cody's tech-focused world where a clean hoodie was the height of fashion. The two seemed like a perfect match on the outside, but there were signs of trouble that Cody's close friends noticed. He seemed more anxious in the days leading up to his death, though no one could put their finger on why. In the days before he died, Cody was still going about his usual routine. He worked late on some big projects for Cisco and had been chatting excitedly with friends about an upcoming trip he was planning for his first wedding anniversary with Lily. They were looking at places like Napa Valley or maybe a quiet weekend in Carmel by the Sea. Cody had also been thinking about the future, possibly starting a family, buying a bigger house, and settling down. But there were also private struggles that Cody was dealing with. He had always had trust issues in relationships, and there were rumors that his marriage wasn't as perfect as it seemed. Still, Cody seemed hopeful that things would improve and that his new life with Lily was the fresh start he had been waiting for. It was the morning of November 18, 2019, when Cody McAllister's body was discovered. At around 7:30 a.m., Lily McAllister, Cody's wife, called 911 saying she had found her husband dead in their condo. The couple lived in a modern, upscale unit in a trendy part of San Jose, not far from Santana Row, an area known for its high-end shops and restaurants. Lily had woken up early and realized Cody wasn't in bed. She told police that after searching the apartment, she found him in the laundry room. When Lily found Cody, he was lying on the floor in a pool of blood. His body had multiple stab wounds, with the fatal blow being to his chest. His arms were limp at his sides and cut up, and the laundry room was in disarray, with clothes scattered around, signaling a violent struggle had taken place. The washer and dryer, both high-end models, were splattered with blood and smelled like old meat rather than clean clothes. Lily was described as calm when she spoke to the 911 operator, though she sounded shaky at times, clearly in shock from what she had found. The first responders arrived within minutes of the call. Officer Mark Tran was the first on the scene, followed closely by his partner, Officer Emily Reyes. They quickly secured the area and began checking for signs of life. Unfortunately, Cody was already cold to the touch. Lily was taken outside and questioned briefly by Officer Reyes, who noted that while Lily appeared upset, she wasn't crying and seemed distant. The officers then called for backup, and the crime scene investigation team arrived shortly after. Neighbors later told reporters that they hadn't heard anything unusual that morning. The walls in the condo building were thick, and it wasn't uncommon for city noise to drown out the sounds from nearby apartments. The couple was relatively new to the building, so no one knew them well, but most described Cody as polite and quiet. They hadn't seen much of Lily, but one neighbor, an older woman who lived across the hall, said she had seen her at the grocery store just the day before. By the time detectives arrived, the building was cordoned off with yellow police tape, and the investigation was in full swing. Cody's body was taken to the coroner's office, and Lily was brought in for questioning. No one could have guessed at the secrets that were about to come to light. The San Jose Police Department arrived swiftly after Lily McAllister's 911 call on the morning of November 18, 2019. Detectives James O'Brien and Lisa Chang, both veterans with the department, were assigned to the case. O'Brien was known for his methodical approach and no-nonsense attitude, while Chang had a reputation for being sharp and detail-oriented. Together, they walked into the upscale condo, ready to piece together what had happened to Cody McAllister. The crime scene was gruesome. The laundry room was small, with Cody's body lying near the door, face up, surrounded by a large pool of blood. Clothes were scattered everywhere. Socks, shirts, and towels were tossed haphazardly on the floor, some of them soaked in blood. It was clear there had been a struggle. A bloody steak knife, likely the murder weapon, was found a few feet away from Cody's body. It had a black ergonomic handle, common in many households, but now stained with clotted blood. The detectives noted the washer and dryer, both covered in spatter, and a few bloody handprints on the doorframe, indicating Cody had likely tried to defend himself. Detective Chang immediately began cataloging evidence. She directed the forensic team to take samples of the blood, check for fingerprints, and look for any signs of forced entry. The laundry room wasn't particularly large, so it didn't take long for the investigators to collect evidence. They used special blue lights to search for additional traces of blood in other parts of the house, but it seemed the attack had been confined to the laundry room. Outside, officers canvassed the neighborhood, asking residents if they had heard or seen anything suspicious, but no significant leads emerged. O'Brien focused on the timeline. The couple had been married for less than a year, and according to Lily, everything had seemed fine. However, the signs of a violent argument were impossible to ignore. There were no signs of a break-in, which suggested that Cody had possibly known his attacker. As they pieced together the evidence, the detectives began to consider the possibility of a domestic dispute gone horribly wrong. The medical examiner later confirmed that Cody had been stabbed 3 times, with the fatal wound being a deep cut to his chest, severing his aorta. The coroner's report indicated that Cody likely died within minutes of the attack. Meanwhile, the detectives continued to search the rest of the condo for more clues, but nothing else seemed out of place. The scene, while chaotic, appeared personal. This definitely wasn't a random attack. The first suspect police turned to was Cody's wife, Lily McAllister, who had made the 911 call reporting the murder. At 32, Lily worked as a freelance fashion designer and had built a modest reputation in the local creative scene for her bold and unique designs. Her quiet, enigmatic personality drew people in, but many who knew her said she kept much of her personal life private. She had met Cody just over a year before, and their relationship had moved quickly to marriage, surprising some of their friends. During her initial interrogation on November 18, 2019, Lily appeared calm but visibly shaken. She told detectives that she had found Cody's body after returning from a quick morning walk. She claimed their marriage had been mostly happy, though she admitted they had their share of arguments, especially recently. As Detective O'Brien questioned her, Lily became more emotional, but her story remained consistent. She repeatedly stated that she had no idea who could have done this to Cody. The detectives, however, couldn't ignore some red flags. For one, there were no signs of forced entry into the condo, which meant the killer was likely someone Cody knew. Lily also had some bruises on her arms and a small cut on her hand. When asked about them, she said they were from an unrelated accident the day before, but the explanation seemed vague. O'Brien, who had a naturally suspicious personality, found her demeanor odd, especially given the violent nature of the crime. As the questioning continued, the tension in the room grew. The detectives mentioned rumors about an affair between Lily and Rachel, Cody's younger sister. After a moment of hesitation, Lily admitted to the sexual relationship. She explained that the affair had started before her marriage to Cody and had continued even after they weighed. In fact, she admitted she had sex with Rachel the afternoon before Cody's death. This revelation added layers of complexity to the situation, suggesting deep emotional connections intertwined with the turmoil of the love triangle. Lily described her feelings for both Cody and Rachel, emphasizing the passion and intense sexual fireworks she shared with Rachel, which contrasted with the stability and calm Cody provided. The detectives noted the significant implications of this admission, recognizing that Lily's secret sexual relationship could have played a critical role in the confrontation that led to Cody's death. Further complicating matters was the lack of background information on Lily. Police struggled to find any records of her existence before 2015. She had told Cody and his friends that she was from Calgary, Canada, but there were no official documents to support this claim. This led detectives to question whether she might be hiding something from her past, and whether that could have played a role in the crime. Despite Lily's cooperation, the police couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her story. They pressed her on her relationship with Cody, asking about any recent arguments or tensions between them. Lily admitted they had been arguing about finances and other personal issues, but she denied any involvement in Cody's death. Still, the investigation was just beginning, and while Lily wasn't immediately arrested, she remained a person of interest. Detectives would continue to dig deeper into Lily's past and their relationship, searching for anything that might shed light on the violent act that took Cody's life. The second person the police questioned was Rachel McAllister, Cody's younger sister. Rachel, 26, was a bartender at a trendy downtown San Jose bar called the Fountain Tap. She was also an aspiring singer, known for performing Taylor Swift songs at local open mic nights. With a rebellious personality and a love for the Bay Area's nightlife scene, Rachel was close to Cody but had a complicated relationship with him. Her fiery temper and history of drug and alcohol use made her a suspect almost immediately. Rachel had also been involved in a secret relationship with Lily before Cody had ever met her, a fact that only came to light during the investigation. She had continued her affair with Lily even after Cody and Lily got married, creating a tangled web of sex and deceit. The sexual relationship between the two women had been passionate but full of tension, and detectives believed this could be a possible motive for Rachel to harm her brother. If Cody found out about the affair, it could have created significant conflict. Rachel was brought in for questioning on the afternoon of November 19, 2019, less than 10 days before Thanksgiving. From the moment she sat down, it was clear she wasn't handling the interrogation well. Her frustration showed as she angrily denied any involvement in her brother's death. She told Detective O'Brien that she loved Cody despite their differences and insisted she would never hurt him. However, her body language told a different story. She shifted nervously in her seat, avoiding eye contact, and became defensive when asked about her ongoing affair with Lily. The detectives pressed Rachel on her whereabouts the night of the murder. She claimed she was working late at the Fountain Tap and then went home to do some pot, but she had no solid alibi to back her up. O'Brien also questioned her about Duke Coleman Kang, her ex-boyfriend with a violent past, who had been seen near Cody's condo around the time of the murder. Rachel admitted she hadn't spoken to Duke in months, but became noticeably tense when his name was mentioned. As police continued to dig into Rachel's personal life, they uncovered her struggles with substance abuse and her financial troubles, which raised more suspicion. Detectives theorized that Rachel's jealousy of Cody's success, combined with the stress of her affair with Lily, could have driven her to a breaking point. While there was no physical evidence directly linking Rachel to the crime, her tumultuous relationship with both Cody and Lily made her a prime suspect in the investigation. The third person police investigated was David Duke Coleman Kang, a 42-year-old felon with a long history of violent crime. Duke had been in and out of prison for various offenses, including drug dealing and assault. He was well known to law enforcement in San Jose, especially around the rougher areas like East Side, where criminal activity was more frequent. Duke's rough reputation and ties to Rachel McAllister immediately put him on the police's radar after Cody's murder. Duke had been spotted near Cody's upscale condo the night of the murder. A neighbor reported seeing him standing near the building's parking lot around 10:30 p.m., smoking a blunt. This sighting raised alarm bells for the investigators, as Duke was known to have had a volatile relationship with Rachel in the past. Duke and Rachel had broken up months before, but their relationship had been filled with arguments, often fueled by drugs and alcohol. Police wondered if Duke, driven by jealousy or anger, could have been looking for Rachel and ended up at Cody's place instead. On November 21, 2019, Duke was picked up by police for questioning. He was calm, almost indifferent, as Detective O'Brien and his partner, Detective Chang, brought him into the station. Dressed in a worn leather jacket and jeans, Duke appeared unaffected by the seriousness of the situation. When asked about his presence near Cody's building the night of the murder, Duke claimed he was in the area to sexually menace a guy about unpaid drug payments, which he said never happened. He insisted he had nothing to do with Cody's death and claimed he barely knew Cody at all. Duke's criminal record, however, made the detectives suspicious. His involvement in drug-related activities and his connection to Rachel created a possible motive. Could Duke have been looking to settle a score or intimidate someone? And things went horribly wrong. Police pressed him hard on whether his presence was related to Rachel or if there had been a confrontation that led to Cody's death. Duke denied it all, maintaining that he hadn't even gone inside the building that night. Despite Duke's criminal past, police had no solid evidence tying him to the crime. His alibi, though flimsy, wasn't easy to disprove. There were no signs that Duke had entered the condo or been involved in the violent altercation that led to Cody's death. While Duke remained a person of interest due to his connection with Rachel and his proximity to the scene, police knew they needed more concrete evidence to pursue him further. On November 24, 2019, nearly a week after Cody McAllister's murder, the San Jose Police Department received a critical break in the case. The weather that Sunday was chilly, with light rain falling across the city, creating a somber mood around the investigation. Detectives O'Brien and Richards were reviewing evidence at the station when a forensic technician approached them with something unusual. While combing through Lily McAllister's MacBook, the tech had uncovered several hidden files containing medical documents, including one that revealed a secret Cody had possibly just discovered before his death. Lily McAllister was born a man and had undergone gender transition surgery years earlier in Canada. The documents, dating back to 2015, showed that Lily had once been a man known as Lyle Dubchenko. This revelation was shocking not only because of the secret itself, but also because Lily had kept this part of her past completely hidden from Cody, who likely had no idea when they married. As police dug deeper, they also uncovered another bombshell. Before her transition, Lily, as Lyle, had actually been married to Cody's sister, Rachel McAllister, while living in Calgary. This tangled web of relationships immediately added a new layer of complexity to the case. Investigators pieced together a possible scenario. Cody had been browsing the laptop when he stumbled upon these documents. Already dealing with tension in his marriage, this discovery likely pushed him over the edge, leading to a violent confrontation with Lily on the night of his murder. With this new evidence, police interviewed Lily again, this time focusing on her past. When confronted with the documents, Lily admitted that Cody had discovered her secret that evening, leading to a heated argument. But according to Lily, while Cody was furious and felt utterly betrayed, not only because she had kept her transition hidden, but also because of her previous marriage to his sister, the argument did not turn violent. Lily claimed she had tried to calm Cody down, but the argument had quickly escalated until Cody left the apartment to calm down. The discovery of this new information was a massive turning point in the investigation. Detectives now believe that Cody's murder was directly tied to his discovery of Lily's past and the emotional turmoil it caused. The police re-examined the crime scene with this new understanding, hoping to find more evidence to support their theory. They also began speaking to Rachel McAllister again, to clarify her knowledge of Lily's history and how much she had told her brother. This new evidence gave police a clearer motive and pushed Lily to the top of their list of suspects. On the evening of November 26, 2019, after days of investigation, the San Jose Police Department officially identified Lily McAllister as Cody McAllister's killer. Following the discovery of hidden medical documents revealing Lily's past as a transgender woman and her former marriage to Cody's sister, Rachel, police concluded that Cody had discovered these secrets shortly before his murder. This realization had led to a violent argument in a couple's upscale condo, culminating in Cody's stabbing death. Lily McAllister, 32, had always been an enigmatic figure in the local creative scene. Known for her unique fashion designs and soft-spoken demeanor, she had lived a quiet, seemingly private life since arriving in California a few years earlier. But her secret past as Lyle Dubchenko, a man who transitioned in Canada, had remained hidden, even from Cody, her husband of only a few months. When Cody uncovered this information, his sense of betrayal and rage likely led to the violent altercation that ended his life. Police believed that after Cody confronted Lily, the argument quickly spiraled out of control. In a desperate attempt to protect herself from Cody's aggression, Lily had grabbed a kitchen knife during the struggle and stabbed him in the chest. While Lily would later claim she acted in self-defense, detectives found the situation far more complex, given the intense emotional layers of the relationship and the secrets that had just come to light. On November 27, 2019, police arrived at Lily's condo to arrest her. It was a quiet afternoon, and Lily was at home, still reeling from the events of the past few days. When officers knocked on her door, she didn't seem surprised. According to police reports, Lily was calm as they informed her of the charges, stating that she had expected this outcome. Her demeanor remained controlled as they handcuffed her and led her to the patrol car. Meanwhile, Cody's family, especially his parents and sister Rachel, were devastated by the arrest. Rachel's marriage and subsequent sexual relationship with Lily, both before and after her transition, added another layer of heartbreak to an already tragic situation. The family had struggled to come to terms with the tangled web of secrets and betrayals that had led to Cody's death. Still, the arrest brought some closure to their grief, knowing that justice might be served. With Lily in custody, police had their suspect, and the focus turned to the upcoming trial. The case had quickly become quietly talked about in social media, with headlines speculating about Lily's past and the shocking circumstances surrounding Cody's murder. The trial of Lily McAllister for the murder of her husband Cody began in early February 2020. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Mark Harding, a 45-year-old with a no-nonsense reputation, argued that Lily's actions were deliberate. Harding highlighted the evidence found on Cody's laptop and suggested that the discovery of Lily's transgender identity and her prior relationship with Cody's sister, Rachel, was the final trigger for the fatal confrontation. He painted a picture of premeditation, claiming Lily had gone to great lengths to hide her past, which exploded in violence when Cody learned the truth. On the defense side, attorney Sarah Jane Lobison, 39, took the lead. Known for her empathetic yet sharp style, Lobison claimed that Lily had acted in self-defense. She explained that Cody had become enraged after discovering Lily's documents and began a physical altercation that left Lily no choice but to protect herself. Lobison painted a sympathetic image of Lily, describing her difficult life as a transgender woman and the fear she lived with, particularly from rejection by people close to her. She urged the jury to consider Lily's mental state during the argument. Throughout the trial, Cody's family attended every session. His parents sat in the courtroom daily, devastated by the loss of their son, Rachel McAllister, caught in the middle of the tangled relationships, seen torn, quietly supporting her family but struggling with her complicated feelings about Lily. The emotional weight of the case was evident in their faces as both sides made their arguments. After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for 2 days. In the end, Lily was convicted of second-degree murder. The judge sentenced her to 20 years in prison, a decision that some of Cody's family felt was too lenient, given the tragic loss of his life. The defense team had hoped for a lesser charge of manslaughter, but the jury sided with the prosecution's view that Lily's actions, while not premeditated, were far more than just self-defense. The trial left a deep emotional scar on both Cody's family and those in the local community who had followed the case closely through media outlets like the San Jose Mercury News. In the end, justice was served, but the pain of Cody's death lingered. After Lily McAllister's trial in February 2020, the lives of those involved changed significantly. Lily was sentenced to 20 years in prison for the murder of her husband, Cody McAllister. She was sent to Valley State Prison in Chowchilla, California, where she faced significant challenges as a transgender woman in a male prison environment. While some inmates were supportive, others were not, and she had to navigate a complex social landscape. In prison, she found support from some inmates and began participating in educational programs. She focused on bettering herself through classes in art and writing, hoping to share her story one day. However, she also faced discrimination from others, making her time difficult. Rachel McAllister, Cody's younger sister, struggled with the aftermath of the trial. She had been deeply affected by her brother's death and her relationship with Lily. As a local bartender in San Jose, Rachel continued to pursue her dream of becoming a singer. She often performed at small venues around the city, trying to channel her grief into her music. In early 2020, she began therapy to help process her emotions, working through her complicated feelings of loss and betrayal. Rachel also spoke publicly about her experiences on her TikTok channel, sharing her story to raise awareness about domestic violence and mental health. Duke Coleman Kang, Lily's ex-boyfriend, who had initially been a suspect in Cody's murder, faced his own troubles. With a history of violent crime and drug use, Duke continued to struggle with addiction after the trial. Reports indicated that he was arrested again in 2020 for drug possession in San Jose. He was sentenced to rehabilitation, where he attempted to turn his life around by becoming a youth pastor in Nashville. Duke's past haunted him, but he aimed to break the cycle of his previous choices. As time passed, Cody's family remained dedicated to honoring his memory. They established a charity focusing on mental health support, hoping to help others affected by violence. Through their efforts, they found some solace and a way to keep Cody's spirit alive. Emily Triel, a 34-year-old marketing manager from Greenville, South Carolina, was a force to be reckoned with in September of 2009. Known for her outgoing personality and infectious laughter, she charmed everyone she met. Despite her professional success, Emily always prioritized her loved ones, especially her son Lawson, 14. Her dedication to balancing her career and family made her a beloved figure among her family and friends. In September of 2009, Emily's life was at its peak. She had recently landed a prestigious position at a renowned marketing firm, Greenville Marketing Solutions, where she spearheaded successful campaigns for well-known brands like Apple, Nike, and Coca-Cola. Her colleagues described her as a creative genius, always coming up with innovative ideas that captivated audiences. Outside of work, Emily was an active member of her community. She volunteered at the local animal shelter, where she rescued and fostered numerous stray animals. Her love for animals was evident in her home, which was filled with the joyful barks and woofs of her beloved golden retriever, Joseph Clay Powell. Emily's social life was vibrant as well. She was a regular at the Trinity coffee shop, Cafe Mocha, where she would meet with friends to discuss the latest gossip or exchange book recommendations. Her favorite pastime was attending live music events, and she often frequented the popular music venue, the Blue Note, where she would dance the night away with her friends. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect life, darkness lurked. Emily's marriage to her husband, Adam Triel, was not as idyllic as it appeared. Friends and family had noticed the strain in their relationship, with arguments becoming more frequent and intense, especially about Lawson, who was Emily's son from a previous relationship. Despite their troubles, Emily remained fiercely loyal to Adam, determined to make their marriage work. Little did Emily know that her loyalty would lead to her untimely demise. As we delve deeper into this chilling murder investigation, we will uncover the shocking secrets and hidden motives that ultimately led to Emily's tragic end. On a warm September evening in 2009, tragedy struck the tranquil town of Greenville, South Carolina. The peaceful atmosphere was shattered by the sound of 6 gunshots that pierced the air, leaving the community in shock and disbelief. The victim, Emily Triel, a 34-year-old marketing manager, met her untimely demise while innocently waiting in her car at a drive-thru Burger King. The fateful scene was discovered by a concerned citizen named Patty Bell Gomery, who happened to be passing by at that very moment. As she glanced towards Emily's vehicle, her eyes were immediately drawn to the lifeless figure slumped behind the wheel. The sight sent a wave of fear and disbelief coursing through her veins, leaving her trembling with apprehension. Without wasting a moment, Patty Bell Gomery swiftly dialed 911, her voice quivering as he relayed the harrowing details to the emergency operator. Her words were laden with a mix of shock and horror as she described the grisly tableau that had unfolded before his eyes. The operator, well versed in handling such distressing calls, calmly guided Patty Bell through the necessary steps while assuring him that help was on the way. As the minutes ticked by, Patty Bell's mind raced, trying to make sense of the senseless violence that had befallen this quiet corner of Greenville. The once serene neighborhood now buzzed with the presence of law enforcement officers, their flashing lights casting an eerie glow on the surrounding area. News vans from local media outlets descended upon the scene, eager to capture every detail of this shocking crime. As the investigation unfolded, officers meticulously combed through the area, collecting evidence and interviewing witnesses. The drive-thru Burger King, now a haunting backdrop to this heinous act, became a focal point for detectives seeking any clues that might shed light on the identity of the perpetrator. Meanwhile, news of Emily's tragic death spread like wildfire through the tight-knit community. Friends, family, and colleagues were left reeling from the loss of a vibrant and beloved individual. The shockwaves of this crime reverberated far beyond the boundaries of Greenville, leaving a lasting impact on all who heard the news. The Greenville Police Department swiftly responded to the distress call that came in on that fateful September evening in 2009. Detectives Erica Leach and JoJo Brownlee, both seasoned investigators with a reputation for their meticulous approach, took charge of the investigation. Upon arriving at the scene, the detectives were met with a chilling sight. Emily Triel's car, a silver Chevrolet Impala, was parked near the drive-thru of a Burger King. The car itself was stained with blood, a grim reminder of the violence that had unfolded just moments earlier. Detective Leach, a woman of unwavering determination, meticulously combed through the vehicle, searching for any clues that could shed light on the identity of the killer. She carefully examined the seats, noting the presence of a small tear in the upholstery, which could potentially be a valuable piece of evidence. Detective Brownlee, known for his keen eye for detail, focused his attention on the exterior of the car, inspecting it for any signs of forced entry or tampering. As the investigation progressed, the detectives discovered a discarded gun near the crime scene. The weapon, a Glock 17, was a popular choice among law enforcement agencies at the time. Its presence raised questions about who the perpetrator could be and what their motive might have been. The detectives carefully bagged the gun, ensuring that it would be preserved as evidence for further analysis. As the investigation unfolded, news of Emily Triel's murder spread throughout the community, sending shockwaves through Greenville and beyond. Local news outlets, such as the Greenville News and WYFF News 4, covered the story extensively, urging anyone with information to come forward and assist the police in their search for justice. Adam Triel, a 36-year-old unemployed accountant, found himself thrust into the spotlight as the prime suspect in the shocking murder of his wife, Emily Triel. The investigation took a chilling turn as detectives delved into the depths of Adam's troubled mind, searching for any clues that could link him to the crime. In the aftermath of the Great Recession, Adam had fallen victim to the economic turmoil that plagued the nation. The loss of his job as an accountant had left him feeling emasculated and overshadowed by his successful wife. Friends and neighbors whispered about the resentment that simmered beneath Adam's calm facade. Detectives Erica Leach and JoJo Brownlee, seasoned professionals with a reputation for their meticulous approach, meticulously combed through Adam's life, searching for any hint of a motive. They discovered a series of incriminating text messages exchanged between Adam and an unknown number, suggesting a secret affair. The detectives traced the number to a burner phone, a device commonly used by individuals seeking to conceal their illicit activities. Further investigation revealed that Adam had recently taken out a life insurance policy on Emily, a fact that raised eyebrows and fueled suspicions. The policy, worth a staggering $1 million, would have provided Adam with a substantial financial windfall in the event of Emily's untimely demise. The timing of this policy, coinciding with Adam's growing resentment towards his wife's success, raised red flags within the investigative team. As the detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a web of lies and deceit. Adam had been secretly meeting with a divorce attorney, fueling speculation that he was planning to end his marriage and secure a substantial settlement. The motive for murder became increasingly clear. Adam stood to gain financially from Emily's death, and his actions leading up to that fateful September evening hinted at a plan in motion. The investigation continued, with detectives meticulously analyzing surveillance footage from nearby establishments, hoping to catch a glimpse of Adam's movements on the night of the murder. They also interviewed friends and acquaintances, piecing together a timeline of events leading up to Emily's tragic end. Sarah Bezel Rand, a co-worker of Emily Triel, emerged as a person of interest in the perplexing murder investigation. Originally from Pretoria, South Africa, Sarah's ambitious nature and competitive spirit made her a formidable presence in the workplace. However, behind closed doors, her relationship with Emily took a more intimate and sexual turn. Police theorized Sarah's motive for murder could be traced back to the breakup of her torrid affair with Emily. As September of 2009 unfolded, tensions between the two women escalated, fueled by jealousy and a desire for professional advancement. Sarah saw Emily as a rival, a formidable obstacle standing in the way of her own career aspirations. The police had also been diligently investigating the possibility that Sarah manipulated Adam Triel, Emily's husband, into carrying out the heinous act. They explored the theory that Sarah, driven by her desperation to secure a promotion and eliminate her ex-lover, devised a plan to involve Adam in the murder plot. During the interrogation, Sarah maintained a calm facade, skillfully concealing her true intentions behind an empty smile. She denied any involvement in Emily's death, insisting that she had moved on from their tumultuous relationship. However, detectives Erica Leach and JoJo Brownlee remained vigilant, aware of the potential danger lurking beneath Sarah's composed exterior. As the investigation delves deeper into the lives of Sarah and Adam, the detectives uncovered a web of secrets and hidden desires. September of 2009 was a time of great uncertainty, with the lingering effects of the Great Recession casting a shadow over the nation. It was a period when individuals, like Sarah and Adam, found themselves grappling with their own personal frustrations and disappointments. As the investigation unfolded, the detectives were determined to uncover the truth behind Emily Triel's tragic demise. The clock was ticking, and the stakes were high. Would they be able to untangle the web of deceit and betrayal that surrounds this chilling murder? Only time would tell. In the quiet town of Greenville, South Carolina, the Triel family tragedy unfolded like a scene from a primetime crime drama. 14-year-old Lawson Triel found himself at the center of a police investigation that gripped the community. The young teen, known for his curiosity and sometimes intrusive nature, was the son of the victim, Emily Triel, and stepson to the prime suspect, Adam Triel. Lawson, a student at the local middle school, was often seen skateboarding around the neighborhood, headphones on, lost in his own world. His friends described him as a smart kid, always with his nose in a book or working on his latest science project. But beneath the surface, Lawson harbored deep resentment towards his stepfather, Adam, whom he saw as an intruder in the close bond he shared with his mother. During the interrogation, Lawson's demeanor was a mix of teenage defiance and vulnerability. He spoke of his mother with warmth, recalling how she would cheer the loudest at his soccer games and was always there to help with homework. When asked about Adam, Lawson's tone shifted. He described feeling like an outsider when Adam entered their lives, a sentiment that only grew over time. Detectives probed for any sign of Lawson's involvement or knowledge of the crime. They questioned him about the gun found at the scene, but Lawson insisted he had never seen it before. He recounted his last conversation with his mother, a typical exchange about weekend plans and a reminder to do his chores. The interrogation revealed a troubled relationship between Lawson and Adam, but no evidence to suggest Lawson's involvement in the crime. The detectives concluded that the young teen, while troubled by family dynamics, was not capable of such violence. Instead, they turned their attention back to the other suspects, with Adam Triel and Sarah Bezel Rand remaining at the forefront of the investigation. As the case unfolded, the community rallied around Lawson, offering support and condolences. The story of the Triel family tragedy served as a stark reminder of the complexities of family relationships and the impact of loss on a small town. Lawson, once a suspect, was now seen as a young boy who had lost his mother too soon, a victim of circumstances beyond his control. In the quiet city of Greenville, South Carolina, the case of Emily Triel's murder had gripped the community with fear and uncertainty. But as the autumn leaves began to turn, signaling the change of seasons in the fall of 2009, a breakthrough emerged in the investigation that would bring a chilling resolution to the mystery. The Greenville Police Department, led by detectives Erica Leach and JoJo Brownlee, had been tirelessly piecing together the puzzle of Emily's untimely death. The evidence, meticulously gathered from the crime scene at the Burger King drive-thru, pointed to one individual, Adam Triel, Emily's own husband. Adam, a 36-year-old unemployed accountant, had found himself jobless amidst the Great Recession, a time when financial turmoil was felt across the nation. His wife's success as a marketing manager only deepened his sense of inadequacy and resentment. It was this toxic mix of jealousy and financial desperation that detectives believe drove Adam to commit the unthinkable. On the fateful night of September 17th, Adam executed his plan. While Emily sat in her car while in line at the Burger King drive-thru, he approached under the cover of darkness and fired 6 shots, ending her life in a matter of seconds. The gun, a .38 caliber revolver, a stark symbol of his guilt, was found discarded near the scene, its serial number traced back to Adam. The detectives, armed with this evidence, confronted Adam during a tense interrogation. He sat across from them, his face a mask of stoic calm, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of panic. As the questions grew more pointed, his facade began to crumble. The evidence was irrefutable, and Adam's silence spoke volumes. On September 28th, Adam Triel's fate was sealed. He was arrested and charged with the murder of Emily Triel. The news of his arrest spread quickly, making headlines in local papers and becoming the talk of the town. As Adam was led away in handcuffs, the community of Greenville breathed a collective sigh of relief. The man who had walked among them, harboring a dark secret, was now behind bars. Emily's family, though still mourning the loss of their vibrant loved one, found solace in the fact that justice was being served. In the fall of 2009, a real-life drama unfolded in Greenville, South Carolina. The trial of Adam Triel, accused of the cold-blooded murder of his wife Emily, shot dead in a Burger King drive-thru, captured the attention of the local community and beyond. The courtroom was tense as prosecutor Zara Mitchell laid out the case against Adam. She painted a picture of a man overwhelmed by jealousy, who meticulously planned the murder of his successful wife to collect her life insurance. The evidence was compelling: financial records, the testimony of co-workers, and the murder weapon linked to Adam. Defense attorney Elodie Campbell fought to create doubt, suggesting that the evidence was circumstantial and that Adam was a loving husband incapable of such a crime. However, the jury was not swayed. They had heard the 911 call, seen the crime scene photos, and now they delivered their verdict: guilty. The decision came down on a day when the MTV Video Music Awards were making headlines, but for the people of Greenville, this local news was far more significant. The courtroom was silent, save for the sound of Emily's family softly crying as the judge pronounced the sentence. Life without parole. Adam Triel's face, once stoic, now showed the gravity of his situation. He had been unmasked not as the quiet, unemployed accountant, but as a murderer driven by envy. The trial, which had been the subject of local news segments and newspaper articles, was over. As the gavel fell, the community reflected on the tragedy. Emily Triel, remembered for her vibrant personality and dedication to her family, had become a symbol of a life taken too soon. The verdict offered closure to some, but for others, it was a reminder of the fragility of life and the depths of human emotion. The case of the state versus Adam Triel would be remembered not just for its outcome, but for the conversations it sparked about love, jealousy, and justice. And as the leaves began to change color, signaling the end of November, the people of Greenville would move forward, carrying with them the memory of the trial that had captivated their town. The town of Greenville, South Carolina, was slowly healing from the wounds of a tragedy that had shaken its core. The trial of Adam Triel for the murder of his wife, Emily, had concluded, leaving a community to grapple with the aftermath. Adam Triel, now a convicted murderer, faced a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The verdict, delivered on a day when the Toronto International Film Festival celebrated cinematic achievements, marked the end of his freedom. He was confined to a cell, his only company the ghosts of his past actions. Sarah Bezel Rand, Emily's former lover and co-worker, also faced the consequences of her involvement. Though not convicted, her reputation was tarnished, her career prospects dimmed. She returned to her native South Africa, but whispers followed her every move, her new colleagues viewing her with suspicion and unease. The community of Greenville, once bustling with the excitement of the upcoming football season and the release of new video games, now found itself in a somber state. The local Burger King, the site of Emily's murder, became a grim landmark, a place many avoided, its drive-through a reminder of the night that changed everything. For Lawson, the teenage son left without a mother, life was a series of adjustments. He returned to school, his classmates tiptoeing around the subject of his loss. Football games and school dances were no longer just rites of passage. They were moments tinged with the absence of his mother's cheering presence. The Triel case was a stark reminder of the complexities of human emotions and the consequences of actions driven by jealousy and greed. As Greenville looked to the future, the community held onto the hope that such darkness would never again touch their lives. Greenville, South Carolina, will forever bear the scars of this twisted murder investigation. The tragic death of Emily Triel shattered the illusion of safety in this quiet suburban community. Through the tireless efforts of the police and the resilience of Emily's loved ones, justice was served, but the scars left behind will never truly fade away. Rachel Caldon was a 37-year-old woman who lived in Boulder, Colorado. She was known for her creativity and love of art. Rachel had a degree in fine arts from the University of Colorado. She dreamed of opening her own art gallery someday. She was an outgoing and friendly person who enjoyed hiking and spending time in nature. Rachel was often seen on the trails at Chappaqua Park or strolling through the Pearl Street Mall enjoying the local shops and cafes. Rachel was a devoted mother of 2 young children, Ethan and Lily. She was deeply involved in their lives, volunteering at their school and helping with their activities. She was part of the PTA at Flaherens Elementary School and often organized art projects for the kids. Her husband, Andre Caldon, worked as a real estate agent, though his business had been struggling due to the housing market crash. In the days before she disappeared, Rachel was busy with her art. She had been working on a series of paintings inspired by the fall colors in the mountains. She loved capturing the vibrant reds, oranges, and yellows of the aspen trees. She had plans to visit the Denver Art Museum to see a new exhibit and was excited about an upcoming art fair where she hoped to display her work. Rachel was also looking forward to Halloween. She had already started making costumes for Ethan and Lily. Ethan wanted to be a cannibal warrior, and Lily was going to be a stripper. Rachel enjoyed the holidays and always went all out with decorations and festivities. On the morning of October 12, 2010, Rachel planned to go for a hike. She loved the crisp fall air and the chance to clear her mind. She left her home around 9 a.m., telling Andre she would be back by noon. When she didn't return, Andre grew worried and reported her missing. Rachel Caldon's disappearance would shock the Boulder community. She was a beloved mother, daughter, sister, and friend. Her creativity, kindness, and love for her family left a lasting impression on everyone who knew her. Rachel Caldon's body was never found, but her disappearance was reported on October 12, 2010. That morning, Boulder was experiencing clear, crisp fall weather with the temperature hovering around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Rachel had left her home at 9 a.m. for a hike and was expected to return by noon. When she didn't come back, her husband, Andre Caldon, grew increasingly worried. At 1 p.m., Andre called 911. His voice sounded tense and anxious as he spoke to the dispatcher. "My wife, Rachel, went for a hike this morning and she hasn't come back. I can't reach her on her phone. I'm really worried something's happened." The dispatcher asked for more details and Andre provided a description of Rachel and the trail she usually hiked. The call set off a chain of events that mobilized local law enforcement and volunteers. The Boulder Police Department quickly organized a search. Officers, along with search and rescue teams, scoured the hiking trails at Chappaqua Park, where Rachel was known to go. Drones and K-9 units were brought in to aid in the search. Friends, family, and community members also joined the effort, hoping to find any sign of Rachel. As the hours turned into days, the search expanded. Flyers with Rachel's picture were posted around Boulder, and local news stations like ABC 7 Denver covered the story extensively. The community was on high alert, and tips began to pour in. Unfortunately, none led to a breakthrough. The lack of physical evidence at the scene was puzzling. It was as if Rachel had vanished into thin air. The search was hampered by the vast and rugged terrain of the area, making it difficult to cover every inch. Rachel's family and friends were devastated. Her parents pleaded with the public for any information that could help find their daughter. Candlelight vigils were held, and the community rallied around the Caldon family, offering support and hope. Despite the extensive search efforts and media coverage, Rachel Caldon remained missing. The mysterious circumstances surrounding her disappearance left everyone with more questions than answers. When Rachel Caldon was reported missing on October 12, 2010, the Boulder Police Department responded quickly. The clear, crisp fall weather allowed for an extensive search. Detectives Olena Seb and Mark Tucko, known for their thoroughness and dedication, led the investigation. The first place the police checked was Chappaqua Park, where Rachel often hiked. They found her car parked at the trailhead, but inside there were no clues, just a water bottle and her jacket. The scene was eerily normal, with no signs of a struggle or any disturbance. Detective Sev, a meticulous investigator with 15 years of experience, directed the team with precision. She knew every minute was crucial. Detective Tucko, known for his methodical approach, documented every detail meticulously. Together, they interviewed hikers, joggers, and anyone who might have seen Rachel that morning. Despite their efforts, no significant leads emerged. The crime scene was puzzling because there was no crime scene. Rachel had vanished without a trace. This made it difficult for the detectives as they had no physical evidence to work with. No blood, no signs of a struggle, nothing to indicate what had happened to her. The detectives turned to technology for help. They checked Rachel's phone records and social media accounts. Rachel's last known communication was a text to her sister, Emily, the night before she disappeared. It was a typical message, discussing plans for the weekend. In the following days, the search expanded. Flyers with Rachel's picture were posted all over Colorado. Local news stations like ABC7 Denver and newspapers like the Boulder Daily Camera covered the story extensively. Tips from the public were followed up on, including rumors she was eaten by a bear, but none led to Rachel. Back at the Caldon home, detectives searched for any clues. They interviewed Andre and the children, trying to piece together Rachel's last moments. Andre was cooperative but visibly stressed. He provided a detailed account of Rachel's plans and their conversation that morning. Despite the extensive search and thorough investigation, Rachel's whereabouts remained a mystery. Detectives Sev and Taco were determined to find answers but were frustrated by the lack of evidence. The case left the Boulder community anxious and desperate for closure. Andre Caldon, Rachel's husband, was the first suspect the police investigated. Andre, 39, was a real estate agent who had been struggling due to the housing market crash. He was described as charming, but had a short temper and a reputation for being controlling. The couple had been experiencing marital problems, and Rachel recently discovered Andre's infidelity. On October 13, 2010, Andre was brought in for questioning at the Boulder Police Department. Detective Alina Sev and Detective Mark Taco conducted the interrogation. Andre appeared nervous but cooperative. The detectives pressed further, asking about the morning Rachel disappeared. Andre recounted their conversation and Rachel's plan to hike at Chautauqua Park. He maintained that he had nothing to do with her disappearance. The detectives knew that financial stress and marital problems could be a motive. They also discovered that Andre had taken out a large life insurance policy on Rachel, which she was unaware of until shortly before she vanished. This policy, worth a substantial amount, raised further suspicion. Despite Andre's cooperation, the detectives noted inconsistencies in his story. He seemed evasive when asked about his whereabouts during the time Rachel went missing. They checked his phone records, but nothing conclusive emerged. However, his financial troubles and the secret life insurance policy painted a troubling picture. Outside the police station, reporters were eager for updates. The community was closely following the case, and Andre's potential involvement became a hot topic. Andre continued to deny any wrongdoing. His demeanor during the interrogation was a mix of calmness and irritation. He insisted that he loved Rachel and would never harm her. However, the detectives remained suspicious. Andre had both motive and opportunity, but without concrete evidence, they couldn't make an arrest. Rachel's disappearance left the Boulder community on edge, and Andre's behavior only added to the mystery. The investigation was far from over, and the detectives were determined to uncover the truth. Jessica Castian, Rachel's close friend and a yoga instructor, became the next person of interest. Jessica, 34, was known for her supportive and caring nature. She had been a confidant to Rachel, especially during the tough times in her marriage. However, Jessica was hiding a secret. She was having an affair with Rachel's husband, Andre. On October 15, 2010, Jessica was brought in for questioning at the Boulder Police Department. Detectives Olina Sev and Mark Taco led the interrogation. Jessica seemed tense but cooperative.
Jessica, can you tell us about your relationship with Rachel? We were very close. I was trying to help her through her problems with Andre. Trying to help her marital problems by having sex with her husband?
Okay, fine. It was just for the past few months, and it was a mistake. I regret it deeply. The detectives pressed Jessica about her relationship with Andre and the days leading up to Rachel's disappearance. Jessica admitted that she and Andre had been seeing each other for a few months. She also knew about Andre's financial troubles and that he had been stealing money from his wife to fund her new yoga studio. The detectives were skeptical of Jessica. She had both a motive and a close connection to Andre, who had a lot to gain from Rachel's disappearance. Her involvement with Andre and the financial support he provided made her a significant suspect. During the interrogation, Jessica maintained her innocence. Her demeanor was a mix of remorse and fear. She expressed guilt over the affair but denied any involvement in Rachel's disappearance. The detectives noted her cooperative attitude but continued to dig deeper into her story. Despite her cooperation, Jessica remained under suspicion. Her affair with Andre and the financial ties between them provided a strong motive. The detectives continued to follow up on every lead, determined to uncover the truth behind Rachel's disappearance. Jessica's life was turned upside down. She faced public scrutiny and the weight of suspicion, all while dealing with her own feelings of guilt and fear. The investigation into Rachel Caldon's disappearance was far from over, and every new detail brought them closer to the truth. On October 20, 2010, a week after Rachel Caldon's disappearance, new evidence came to light. It was a cloudy, chilly day with temperatures in the mid-40s. A local hiker was walking his dog along a lesser-known trail near Chautauqua Park when he stumbled upon a partially buried item. It was Rachel's phone, covered in dirt and leaves. Greg immediately called 911. The police arrived at the scene within 20 minutes. Detective Vivian Severn and Detective Mark Tucko, who had been leading the investigation, took charge of the new evidence. The discovery of Rachel's phone was significant. It was the first physical evidence found since her disappearance. The phone was carefully bagged and sent to the forensics lab for analysis. The detectives hoped it would provide clues about Rachel's last moments. At the lab, technicians worked to recover data from the phone. They managed to retrieve text messages, call logs, and GPS data. The last text sent from Rachel's phone was to her sister, Emily, on the night before she disappeared. The phone's GPS data showed Rachel's movements up until the time she went missing. The data indicated she had stopped at a secluded spot off the main trail. Detectives Sev and Tucko returned to the trail with a team to search the area where the phone was found. They conducted a detailed search, hoping to uncover more clues. They found a piece of Rachel's jacket snagged on a bush, which suggested she had been in that area. Local media quickly picked up on the new development. The community's interest in the case surged, and tips began to pour in again. Some people reported seeing suspicious activity in the park on the day Rachel disappeared. With the new evidence in hand, the detectives re-interviewed Andre Caldon and Jessica Castian. They asked about the secluded area and if either had been there. Both denied any knowledge of the spot or Rachel's activities there. The discovery of Rachel's phone and jacket piece revitalized the investigation. It gave the detectives new leads to follow and hope that they were getting closer to finding out what happened to Rachel. The Boulder community remained on edge, eager for answers. As the investigation continued, the detectives remained determined to solve the mystery of Rachel Caldon's disappearance. Each new piece of evidence brought them one step closer to uncovering the truth. Peter Elio, a private investigator hired by Rachel, became the next person of interest. Peter, 42, was known for being thorough and professional but had a reputation for pushing ethical boundaries. Rachel had hired him to gather evidence of Andre's infidelity. Just before her disappearance, Peter had reported some disturbing findings to Rachel. On October 22, 2010, the Boulder Police Department brought Peter in for questioning. Detectives Vivian Severn and Mark Tucko conducted the interrogation. Peter appeared confident but slightly nervous as he recounted his work for Rachel. Peter explained that Rachel had hired him to investigate her husband, Andre. She suspected Andre of cheating, and Peter's investigation confirmed those suspicions. He met Rachel on October 10 to give her a report detailing Andre's affairs. Rachel was upset but determined to confront Andre, according to Peter. The detectives pressed Peter about his methods. He confessed to sometimes bending the rules to get information, raising concerns about the reliability of his findings. They discovered that Peter had fabricated some of his reports to take more money from Rachel. Business had been slow for him, and he saw an opportunity to make extra cash. He insisted that he never thought it would harm anyone, and that he never imagined Rachel would go missing. Despite his questionable ethics, Peter maintained his innocence regarding Rachel's disappearance. He stated that he only wanted to help her and had nothing to do with her vanishing. The detectives noted his mix of confidence and anxiety as he provided detailed accounts of his work. His financial motives and fabricated reports, however, made him a significant suspect. Local media, including ABC 7 Denver and the Boulder Daily Camera, closely followed the developments. The community was eager for answers, and Peter's involvement added another layer of complexity to the case. The detectives continued to investigate his actions, hoping to uncover more clues. Peter's life was under intense scrutiny. He faced public suspicion and pressure to prove his innocence. Despite his denials, his unethical practices and financial motives were troubling. The investigation into Rachel Caldon's disappearance was still ongoing, and each new lead brought the detectives closer to the truth. The identity of Rachel Caldon's murderer remains unresolved, but significant suspicion fell on Andre Caldon. Andre, 39, was a real estate agent who had been struggling due to the housing market crash. He was known for being charming but have a short temper and a reputation for being controlling. Financial stress and marital problems, combined with a secret life insurance policy on Rachel, provided a strong motive. On October 25, 2010, a crucial breakthrough came when the detectives discovered the hidden life insurance policy Andre had taken out on Rachel, worth a substantial amount. This policy, activated just weeks before Rachel's disappearance, had been hidden from her. Jessica Casan, feeling guilt-ridden, admitted to knowing about the policy but denied any involvement in the murder. The Boulder Police Department moved quickly to arrest Andre. It was a chilly, overcast day with temperatures in the low 50s. Detectives Olena Sev and Mark Taco led the arrest, arriving at Andre's home early in the morning. The community was tense, with local media closely following the events. Andre was arrested without incident. He appeared surprised but remained composed during the arrest. He was charged with murder, and the news spread rapidly throughout Boulder. Rachel's family expressed relief that a key suspect was in custody but remained anxious for justice. As Andre was taken into custody, the police continued to gather evidence. They focused on the financial motive, including the life insurance policy and the money Andre had stolen from Rachel to fund Jessica's yoga studio. The detectives believed Andre had planned Rachel's disappearance to solve his financial problems and start a new life with Jessica. The case against Andre was strong, but not airtight. The lack of Rachel's body and concrete physical evidence made it challenging. Nevertheless, the detectives were determined to pursue justice. Andre's arrest brought mixed reactions. Some believed he was guilty, while others felt the evidence was circumstantial. Rachel's family and friends were devastated by the entire ordeal. They hoped for a resolution. The Boulder community remained on edge as the legal process unfolded. Andre's behavior and financial troubles painted a compelling picture, but the case was far from closed. The detectives continued their work, searching for more evidence and following every lead. The trial of Andre Caldon began on November 15, 2012. The courtroom was packed with local residents, reporters from ABC 7 Denver, and journalists from the Boulder Daily Camera. The prosecution was led by District Attorney Julia Taro, a seasoned prosecutor known for her tough stance on crime. She was 45 years old, sharp, and determined to get justice for Rachel. Taro laid out the prosecution's case, focusing on Andre's financial troubles, his affair with Jessica Casan, and the secret life insurance policy he had taken out on Rachel. She argued that Andre had the motive, opportunity, and financial desperation to plan Rachel's disappearance and murder. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence shows that Andre Caldon stood to gain a substantial amount of money from Rachel's death. He was in financial ruin and saw this as his way out, Taro stated firmly in her opening argument. The defense was handled by Hans Stomias, a 50-year-old defense attorney known for his calm demeanor and meticulous approach. Tomias argued that the evidence against Andre was circumstantial. He pointed out the lack of a body and direct physical evidence linking Andre to Rachel's disappearance. Rachel's family watched the trial with heavy hearts. Her sister, Emily, was often seen in the courtroom, holding back tears. The community was divided, with some supporting the prosecution's narrative and others doubting the strength of the evidence. After 2 weeks of intense testimony and careful examination, the jury deliberated. On November 29, 2012, they returned with a verdict. Andre Caldon was found not guilty due to insufficient evidence. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read, followed by a mix of gasps and murmurs from the audience. Rachel's family was devastated by the verdict. They felt justice had not been served. Emily Triel, the prosecutor, expressed her disappointment but respected the jury's decision. Andre's reaction to the verdict was subdued. He maintained his innocence throughout the trial and expressed relief at the outcome. However, he knew that public suspicion would linger. The verdict had a profound impact on Rachel's family and friends. They struggled with the outcome, feeling that Rachel's memory had not been honored. The community, too, was left with lingering doubts and unresolved questions. The trial's conclusion did little to alleviate the pain and uncertainty surrounding Rachel's disappearance. For many, it was a reminder of the complexities of the justice system and the challenges of finding the truth. The case remained open, and the search for answers continued. After the trial, the lives of those involved in Rachel Caldon's case took different paths. Andre Caldon, found not guilty, struggled to rebuild his life. The community of Boulder remained suspicious of him. He tried to continue his career in real estate, but faced significant obstacles. His reputation was tarnished, and clients were wary. Andre eventually moved away from Boulder, seeking a fresh start in Canada, his home country. Jessica Casan, the yoga instructor and Andre's secret lover, also faced a challenging aftermath. The revelation of her affair with Andre and her involvement in the scandal affected her professional life. Her yoga studio, which had been funded by money stolen from Rachel, lost many clients. Jessica publicly apologized and tried to distance herself from the controversy. She continued teaching yoga, but on a much smaller scale. Peter Elio, the private investigator, was under scrutiny for his unethical practices. His reputation in the investigative community was damaged beyond repair. He faced legal consequences for falsifying reports and defrauding Rachel. Peter struggled to find work and eventually left the profession. The public and media coverage of his involvement in the case made it difficult for him to regain trust. Rachel's family, particularly her sister Luana, continued to seek answers and justice. Emily became a vocal advocate for missing persons and victims of unsolved crimes. She worked closely with local organizations, raising awareness and pushing for continued investigation into her sister's disappearance. The emotional toll on Rachel's children was immense. They received counseling and support from family and community members. The Boulder community, marked by the tragedy, rallied around Rachel's family. Local events, like the annual Rachel Caldon Memorial Hike, were organized to honor her memory and support efforts to find the truth. The case was a reminder of the importance of community solidarity and support. As time passed, the story of Rachel Caldon continued to be a significant part of Boulder's history. The hope for justice and answers persisted, driven by the unwavering dedication of Rachel's family, the detectives, and the community. In the heart of the Great Lakes region, Lana Tomkins was a beacon of potential and creativity. At 26 years old, she hailed from Michigan's bustling city of Detroit, a place that, despite its economic struggles, remained a hub of artistic and cultural diversity. Lana was a graphic designer by trade, her skills honed at the College for Creative Studies, a prestigious institution known for its contribution to the arts. Her portfolio, a vibrant tapestry of digital illustrations and branding projects, was a testament to her ambition and talent. Lana's roots were firmly planted in a close-knit family. She was the youngest daughter of Michael Tomkins, a dedicated automotive engineer at General Motors, and Susan Tomkins, a librarian whose love for books was infectious. Lana's siblings, elder brother David, an up-and-coming lawyer, and sister Emily, a pediatric nurse, shared a strong bond with her, rooted in mutual respect and admiration. Her personality was a blend of warmth and determination, traits that endeared her to friends and colleagues alike. Described by her peers as the life of the party, she had an infectious laugh that could light up even the dullest of rooms. Yet, beneath her cheerful exterior lay a dreamer with aspirations that reached far beyond the confines of her current life. In the days leading up to her untimely death, Lana was brimming with excitement over her plans to expand her design business. She had recently been in talks with potential clients in Toronto, hoping to tap into the city's thriving art scene, which was abuzz with the upcoming Toronto International Film Festival's announcement of its 2009 winners. Social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, which were hitting their stride in popularity, were abuzz with her latest designs. Her journey to Toronto was not just a business trip. It was a step towards realizing her dream of becoming an internationally recognized designer. Little did she know, the city that symbolized her future aspirations would become the setting of a tragic end to a life full of promise. On December 1, 2009, as the early winter dusk cloaked the city of Toronto in shades of gray, an ominous chill settled over the bustling streets. The Canadian city, usually alive with the sound of holiday shoppers and the sight of festive decorations, was unaware of the grim discovery that would soon disrupt the seasonal cheer. At approximately 7:45 p.m., the Swiss Chalet restaurant, a Canadian staple known for its rotisserie chicken and comfort food, became a crime scene. Nestled on a busy street corner, the establishment was filled with diners seeking refuge from the biting cold that evening. Among them was Janet Wolinski, a local librarian with a penchant for mystery novels, who had stopped by for a quick meal after a long day at the Toronto Public Library. Little did she know that she would stumble upon a real-life horror that no book could prepare her for. Upon entering the ladies' room, Janet was met with a sight that would haunt her for years to come. Lana Tomkins, a visitor from Michigan, lay lifeless on the cold-tiled floor. The victim was dressed for the winter weather, her scarf and coat a stark contrast to the stillness of her form. A luxury belt, an item far removed from the affordable indulgences typically sold in the nearby Eaton Center's holiday market, was wrapped tightly around her neck. Janet's initial shock quickly turned to action as she suppressed her panic and alerted the restaurant manager, who in turn called 911. The dispatcher, trained for emergencies, guided them through the necessary steps while ensuring that the police were promptly en route. Despite the flurry of activity, Janet remained composed, a testament to her strength even in the face of adversity. As the snowflakes of the season began to fall, casting a serene blanket over the city, the warmth inside the Swiss chalet was irreversibly tainted by the cold reality of a life extinguished too soon. The Toronto Police Service received the distress call from the Swiss Chalet restaurant at 7:52 p.m. on that frigid December evening. Within minutes, the scene was swarming with the flashing lights of emergency vehicles, cutting through the darkness as they arrived with urgency. The first responders were met with a scene that juxtaposed the festive atmosphere typical of the season. A young woman's body lay in the solitude of the restaurant's bathroom, a place where the jovial chatter of diners was replaced by a deafening silence. Detectives James Keller and Sandra Lee, both veterans of the Homicide Squad, led the investigation. Keller, with his gruff demeanor and a reputation for his dogged pursuit of justice, was well known in the corridors of the 52 Division. His partner, Lee, brought a methodical and detail-oriented approach to the case, her skills honed by years on the force and a keen understanding of the city's diverse communities. The crime scene was meticulously preserved, with the area cordoned off to prevent contamination. Forensic teams donned protective suits as they entered the scene, a procedure that had become almost routine in a city that had seen its share of violent crimes. The air was thick with the scent of disinfectant, a stark contrast to the heavy aroma of gravy and fries that wafted from the kitchen. Lana Tomkins' body showed no immediate signs of a struggle, suggesting she may have known her assailant or been taken by surprise. The murder weapon, a belt from a luxury department store, hinted at a personal attack. Such items were not commonly found in the possession of the average Torontonian. As the forensic team collected evidence, they employed the latest in crime scene technology, including alternate light source imaging and 3D crime scene reconstruction, tools that were just coming into their own at the end of the decade. The meticulous collection of fingerprints and DNA samples was a race against time, with the knowledge that each passing moment could lead the killer further from their grasp. The crime had been committed with a chilling precision that left the seasoned detectives unsettled. As the night wore on, the realization that this case would not be a simple one was dawning on everyone involved. The city of Toronto, normally abuzz with excitement over the upcoming Winter City Festival, was now overshadowed by the specter of a murderer in its midst. As the investigation unfolded, attention turned to Lar Chaler, a 23-year-old janitor employed at the Swiss Chalet restaurant where Lana Tomkins' body was found. Chevalier, originally from Sherbrooke, Quebec, had moved to Toronto in search of better prospects and was known among his colleagues for his quiet demeanor and punctuality. The young janitor lived a modest life in a small apartment cluttered with architectural blueprints and design magazines, remnants of his abandoned dream to become an architect. A dream thwarted by financial constraints in the global economic downturn of 2008. His social media profiles, sparse and infrequently updated, offered no insights into his personal life, presenting a challenge for the detectives trying to piece together his background. During the interrogation, held in the sterile confines of an interview room at the police station, Chevalier maintained a calm exterior. The detectives, skilled in the art of questioning, probed for inconsistencies in his account of the evening in question. He claimed to have been restocking supplies at the time of the murder, a routine task that left him largely unaccounted for during the critical window. His alibi was met with skepticism. The investigators, aware of the pressures faced by service workers in the city, often highlighted in exposés by the Toronto Star, considered the possibility of a crime of opportunity. However, without a clear motive or evidence linking him to the crime, their suspicions remained unconfirmed. Throughout the questioning, Chevalier cooperated fully, his responses measured and devoid of the defensiveness typical of a guilty conscience. His hands, though roughened by manual labor, showed no signs of involvement in a violent act. The detectives were left to ponder whether his calmness was a facade or a genuine indication of innocence. As the interrogation concluded, the police were no closer to proving Chevalier's involvement in the murder. The investigation would have to delve deeper into the lives of Lana Tomkins and the other individuals connected to the case to uncover the truth behind the tragedy. Nearly 4 days after the tragic discovery of Lana Tomkins, the city of Toronto was shaken once again. On December 5, 2009, Robin Quan, an 18-year-old high school student, was found dead in the bathroom of a Canadian Tire store on Yonge Street, a bustling retail hub especially crowded during the holiday season. Like Lana, Robin was strangled with a belt that seemed out of place amidst the rows of automotive parts and home essentials, a belt that, upon further investigation, was traced to the same luxury department store chain. Robin, a recent immigrant from Hong Kong, had moved to Canada with her parents in hopes of a better future. She was described by her classmates at Jarvis Collegiate Institute as a bright and ambitious student, her dreams of studying medicine at the University of Toronto driving her to excel academically. Her part-time job at Canadian Tire was a step towards independence and financial support for her education. The investigation led to an interrogation of her coworkers, one of whom was present on the evening of her death. The store manager, a middle-aged man named Douglas Peters, was visibly distraught as he recounted the events of the night. He described Robin as a diligent and reliable employee, her customer service always accompanied by a friendly smile. Social media platforms like Facebook, then at the height of their emerging influence, became a valuable tool in the investigation. Detectives scoured Robin's online interactions for any sign of conflict or distress, but found nothing beyond the usual teenage discourse and aspirations. The police, determined to find a connection between the two murders, questioned Robin's friends and family with sensitivity, understanding the cultural nuances of her community. Her parents, overwhelmed by grief, struggled to comprehend the senseless loss of their daughter, their dreams shattered in an instant. Despite the meticulous interrogation of those within Robin's immediate circle, the police found no clear motive or suspect. The killer remained at large, his or her identity shrouded in mystery, leaving the city's residents in a state of heightened anxiety and fear. The investigation took a pivotal turn on the morning of December 7, 2009. A gray overcast sky loomed over Toronto, a reflection of the somber mood that had enveloped the city since the string of unsettling murders. The crisp winter air was heavy with anticipation as the Toronto Police Service worked tirelessly to connect the dots between the two cases. A breakthrough came when a loss prevention officer from Holt Renfrew, an upscale department store renowned for its curated selection of luxury goods, contacted the authorities. The officer had been reviewing security footage as part of the store's routine protocols heightened during the holiday shopping frenzy. Amidst the footage, a figure caught their attention, a young man purchasing several high-end belts, the same type used in the murders. The surveillance video timestamp coincided with the days leading up to the first murder. The young man's face was clear, his demeanor calm as he made the transactions. The footage was promptly handed over to the police, who disseminated stills to local media outlets, including CP24 and the Globe and Mail, in a bid to solicit the public's help in identifying the individual. The response was swift. Tips flooded in, and the public's vigilance was palpable. Social media buzzed with activity as the images circulated on Twitter and Facebook, where concerned citizens shared information and expressed their unease about the brazen nature of the crimes. Detectives Keller and Lee analyzed the footage, noting the suspect's confidence and the ease with which he navigated the upscale environment. The belts, an accessory to fashion for most, had become an instrument of death in his hands. As the day progressed, the weather took a turn and light snow began to fall, blanketing the city in a deceptive calm. But the police were far from tranquil, as this new evidence presented a tangible lead. The race was on to identify the young man before he could strike again, and with the city on edge, the pressure was mounting to bring the perpetrator to justice. The investigation's urgency intensified on December 9, 2009, as another life was claimed under chillingly similar circumstances. Yaira Dominguez, a 21-year-old single mother and recent immigrant from Holguin, Cuba, was found in the staff bathroom of an A&W restaurant, her life extinguished by the same method, a luxury belt, now a grim signature of the killer. Yaira, who had sought a new beginning in Canada for herself and her young daughter, worked tirelessly at the counter, serving customers with a hopeful smile. Her aspirations to enroll in a nursing program at Ryerson University were fueled by a determination to provide a better life for her child. The A&W on Queen Street, often bustling with locals and tourists alike, was a stark contrast to the quiet tragedy that unfolded within its walls. The police, now grappling with a serial killer, focused their investigation on the individual captured in the Holt Renfrew security footage. The manhunt led them to James Deacon Price, a 17-year-old high school student from one of Canada's most prestigious private schools. Deacon Price, the only child of a prominent Bay Street financier and a socialite known for her philanthropic endeavors, lived a life of privilege that was well documented in the society pages of the Toronto Star. During his interrogation, Deacon Price's demeanor was unsettling. He was neither overtly nervous nor particularly cooperative, responding to the detective's questions with a nonchalance that belied the gravity of the situation. His digital footprint revealed a trail of arrogance, with social media posts that showcased a lavish lifestyle and a sense of entitlement that was out of touch with the economic reality faced by many Torontonians post-recession. The police probed for a motive, delving into Deacon Price's past and his relationships. His peers described him as aloof and often dismissive of those he deemed beneath him. Yet, there was no clear reason why he would target victims like Lana, Robin, and Yaira, women who were strangers to him, each battling their own struggles and chasing their dreams in a city that promised opportunity. As the interrogation continued, the detectives were left to ponder whether Deacon Price's actions were the result of a deeply rooted pathology or a perverse desire to exert control over the vulnerable. The answers, however, remained just out of reach, leaving the investigators to piece together the puzzle of a young man's descent into darkness. Amidst the backdrop of a snow-dusted Toronto, a narrative of privilege and malice began to unfold. By mid-December 2009, the city, usually preoccupied with the festive spirit and the recent Grey Cup victory of the Montreal Alouettes, found its attention riveted on a series of brutal murders. The common thread, a luxury belt used as a garrote, led investigators to James Deacon Price, a 17-year-old student from a prestigious private school. Deacon Price, the progeny of wealth and status, stood in stark contrast to his victims, women striving for betterment amidst the economic aftershocks that continued to reverberate from the 2008 financial crisis. His life, documented in the society pages and on nascent social media platforms, was punctuated by galas and exclusive events, a stark departure from the everyday struggles of Lana Tomkins, Robin Quan, and Yaira Dominguez. The investigation revealed a chilling portrait of the young man. Despite his seemingly idyllic upbringing, Deacon Price harbored a morbid curiosity. His internet history, scrutinized by cybercrime specialists, unveiled a fascination with the macabre and the mechanics of death, a digital trail that added a layer of complexity to the case. In a coldly calculated manner, Deacon Price had sought out his victims, each selected with a predator's precision. The belts, purchased from high-end retail stores like Holt Renfrew, were not just tools but trophies, selected to satisfy a twisted desire for power and control. It was a desire he confessed to during interrogation, stating with chilling detachment that he wanted to know what it felt like to end a life. The motive, as articulated by Deacon Price, was as banal as it was horrifying, a quest for sensation, an experiment in mortality devoid of any personal vendetta against the victims. He believed his affluent background made him untouchable, a belief that would soon be disproven by the weight of evidence against him. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, the detectives faced the daunting task of proving Deacon Price's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The city watched, its collective breath held, as the wheels of justice began to turn against a young man who had stepped far beyond the bounds of society's norms. The morning of December 11, 2009, dawned with a brittle clarity over Toronto, the city's iconic CN Tower piercing the sky of unbroken blue. The metropolitan area was still reeling from the revelations surrounding the high-profile case that had dominated headlines in the Globe and Mail and the incessant chatter on talk radio stations like CFOB. The Toronto Police Service, armed with incontrovertible evidence and a confession, prepared to make an arrest that would resonate through the corridors of power in the city. In the affluent neighborhood where James Deacon Price resided, opulent homes were adorned with tasteful Christmas decorations, a stark contrast to the somber task at hand. The young suspect, heir to a family legacy of wealth and influence, was apprehended at his family's stately residence, a place that had been featured in the glossy pages of Toronto Life magazine. The arrest was executed with precision, the culmination of countless hours of investigation by a task force determined to see justice served. Detectives Keller and Lee, accompanied by uniformed officers, approached the Deacon Price home as the first light of day reflected off the freshly fallen snow. The suspect, confronted with the reality of his situation, displayed a flicker of surprise before his expression settled into one of resigned acceptance. The reaction of Deacon Price, who had so cavalierly confessed to his heinous acts, was one of detached acknowledgement, a far cry from the arrogance he had exhibited in his online persona and in the interrogation room. As he was led away in handcuffs, the gravity of his fate seemed to settle upon him, a stark departure from the invulnerability he had once assumed. Meanwhile, the families of the victims, who had been notified of the impending arrest, experienced a tumult of emotions. Relief mingled with sorrow, the reality that nothing could bring back their loved ones setting in. The arrest, while a closure of sorts, was also a reminder of the gaping wounds left by the loss of Lana, Robin, and Yaira. As the news of the arrest spread, the city of Toronto breathed a collective sigh of relief. The imminent threat was contained, but the scars left by the actions of James Deacon Price would linger in the city's collective memory for years to come. The trial of James Deacon Price commenced in the spring following a winter that had seen Toronto gripped by the chilling narrative. The old City Hall Courthouse, a Romanesque revival building that had stood as a symbol of justice since the late 1800s, was the stage for a legal battle that would capture the attention of the nation. The media, from CBC News to the smaller local outlets, were assembled, their cameras and microphones poised to document every development. The prosecution was led by Elizabeth Chester, a formidable figure with a reputation for her incisive courtroom tactics. At 45, Chester was a seasoned prosecutor, her career defined by a string of successful convictions. She approached the case with a steely determination, framing Deacon Price as a predator who had exploited his social status to carry out his crimes with a chilling sense of entitlement. The defense was in the hands of Jonathan Hale, a defense attorney known for his eloquent arguments and charismatic presence in the courtroom. Hale, at 50, had made a name for himself representing some of the city's most challenging cases. He contended that Deacon Price, despite his confession, was a product of a society that glorified wealth and neglected the mental health of its youth. Throughout the proceedings, the courtroom was heavy with emotion. The victims' families, present at each day of the trial, sat with a dignified composure that occasionally gave way to tears as the details of their loved ones' final moments were laid bare. The public gallery, often filled to capacity, listened with rapt attention as witnesses recounted the events leading up to the fateful discoveries in December 2009. As the trial progressed, the city followed the unfolding drama, the case becoming a topic of heated discussion on platforms like Twitter, where the hashtag Deacon Price trial trended for weeks. The trial not only questioned the morality of the accused, but also held up a mirror to the societal divisions and disparities that had allowed such a tragedy to occur. The courtroom was hushed as the trial of James Deacon Price reached its climax. After weeks of intense deliberations and testimonies that had been scrutinized by legal experts and armchair analysts alike on forums and in the comment sections of the Toronto Sun, the moment of reckoning had arrived. The city, still under the shadow of the atrocities, awaited justice for Lana, Robin, and Yaira. Elizabeth Chester, her arguments grounded in the stark reality of the evidence, had painted a portrait of a remorseless killer in Deacon Price. The defense, led by Jonathan Hale, had sought to humanize the accused, emphasizing his youth and the psychological complexities that may have led to his actions. The jury, faced with the weight of their civic duty, retreated to consider the fate of the young man whose privileged life had taken such a dark turn. The verdict was delivered on a day that saw the streets of Toronto bustling with the usual cadence of city life, the conversations of passers-by punctuated by the latest hits playing from the storefronts of HMV and Virgin Megastore. Guilty on all counts, the words echoed through the courtroom, a solemn affirmation of the justice system's resolve. Sentencing followed, the judge imposing a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 25 years. The punishment, while severe, sparked debate across the city's diverse neighborhoods and in the opinion columns of the Globe and Mail. Some argued that the sentence was too lenient for the gravity of the crimes, while others pondered the effectiveness of retribution over rehabilitation. For the victims' families, the sentencing brought a measure of closure, though the verdict could not fill the void left by their loss. Their reactions were a blend of relief and sorrow, a complex tapestry of emotions that reflected the irrevocable impact of the crimes. The verdict's ripple effects extended beyond the courtroom, igniting conversations about the societal implications of the case and the nature of justice. As the city moved forward, the legacy of the trial remained, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the profound consequences of one individual's actions. The conclusion of the trial marked a new chapter for the city of Toronto. As the winter of 2009 became a memory and the cityscape bloomed with the arrival of spring, the community sought to rebuild and find a sense of normalcy after the harrowing events that had unfolded. The bustling streets, once the backdrop for a narrative of horror, slowly returned to their former rhythm, the vibrant pulse of Canada's largest city undiminished. The families of Lana Tomkins, Robin Quan, and Yaira Dominguez faced the daunting task of moving forward without their loved ones. Their grief was a private affair, each finding solace in different ways, some through advocacy and speaking out against violence, others in the quiet remembrance of the lives so cruelly taken. The pain of loss was a constant companion, but so too was the strength they found in their communities and in each other. Detectives Keller and Lee, the faces of the investigation, received commendations for their work. Yet the accolades did little to erase the images and testimonies that would linger in their minds long after the case was closed. They continued their service, their resolve strengthened by the knowledge that their efforts had brought a measure of justice to the bereaved. As for James Deacon Price, his conviction and subsequent incarceration became the subject of continued media interest. True crime podcasts and television specials analyzed every facet of the case, from his privileged upbringing to the psychological profile that emerged during the trial. In prison, Deacon Price became another inmate, his notoriety a stark departure from the life of luxury he had once known. The broader community grappled with the implications of the case, discussions about mental health, societal privilege, and the criminal justice system taking center stage in university lectures and coffee shop debates. The murders had left an indelible mark on the city's consciousness, prompting reflection on the vulnerabilities and inequalities that existed within the urban tapestry. As years passed, the case of the James Deacon Price remained a cautionary tale, a reminder of the darkness that can lie beneath a facade of normalcy in the enduring quest for justice in the face of senseless violence. The case of the Nepo baby serial killer serves as a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a facade of privilege. It's a story that shook Toronto and one that true crime case files will never forget. Jake Malton was 35 years old when he died. He lived in Naperville, Illinois, a peaceful suburb near Chicago. Jake was a well-respected man with a sharp mind and a charming personality. He worked as a finance manager at a local investment firm, where he was known for his leadership skills and dedication. He had graduated from Northwestern University with a degree in finance and was seen as a rising star in his field. At home, Jake was a loving father and devoted husband. He lived with his wife, Laura Beth Malton, and their 2 children, Ponderosa and Arson. Jake had a passion for sailing Lake Michigan and spent many weekends at the local marina with his children. His kids loved these outings, and Jake often talked about buying a small sailboat. He was also an active member of the community, participating in local events and charity drives. Jake's personality was a mix of professionalism and warmth. He was friendly and approachable, making him well-liked by his colleagues and neighbors. Jake dreamed of one day taking a sabbatical to spend more time with his family and perhaps travel around the world. In the days leading up to his death, Jake was busy planning a family vacation to the Bahamas. He wanted to surprise his children with the trip, and they were excited about it. In February of 2012, Naperville was frigid, with temperatures often dipping below freezing. The local news was buzzing about the upcoming Super Bowl. Jake, a fan of the Chicago Bears, enjoyed discussing the games with his friends. He was also a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal and kept up with the latest news in finance and business. Jake and his family lived in a comfortable home in a quiet neighborhood. Their house was always warm and inviting, with a cozy living room filled with family photos and mementos from their trips. The Malton family was close-knit, often spending evenings together watching movies or playing board games like Monopoly and Scrabble. In his professional life, Jake had recently been working on a big project at his firm, which had been taking up a lot of his time. Despite his busy schedule, he always made time for his family. His colleagues admired his ability to balance work and family life so well. Jake's dreams and plans for the future were cut short by his tragic death, leaving a void in the lives of those who knew and loved him. On the morning of February 18, 2012, at around 7:30 a.m., a tragic discovery was made in Naperville, Illinois. Laura Beth Malton, Jake Malton's wife, woke up and found her husband's body lying next to her in their bedroom. He had been shot twice. The room was eerily clean, with no signs of a struggle, which suggested that the crime had been planned. Laura Beth, upon finding Jake dead in their bed, was in a state of shock. She immediately called 911, her voice shaking as she spoke to the emergency operator. The operator tried to keep Laura Beth calm while dispatching police and emergency services to their home. Laura Beth's voice trembled as she described finding Jake. Her words were frantic, and she could hardly believe what she was seeing. The operator stayed on the line with her until help arrived. When the police arrived, they found Laura Beth sitting on the floor outside the bedroom, crying and holding her phone. The house was in perfect order, except for the horrifying sight in the bedroom. Jake was lying on the bed, and it was clear he had been dead for several hours. The officers immediately secured the area and began their investigation. By mid-morning, the news had spread throughout Naperville. Local news channels like NBC Chicago and newspapers such as the Chicago Tribune began reporting on the incident. The media coverage added to the tension as reporters and cameras gathered outside the Malton home. As the day went on, the police continued to piece together the events leading up to Jake's death. Laura Beth was taken to the station for questioning, still in a state of shock. The detectives knew they had to act quickly to solve the mystery of Jake Malden's death. On February 18, 2012, the police arrived quickly at the Malton home in Naperville, Illinois. They entered the quiet, neat house and found Laura Beth Malden sitting outside the bedroom, crying. The officers immediately secured the area and called in detectives. Detective Jason Hollis and Detective Sarah Lee Green, both experienced investigators, arrived soon after. Hollis was known for being methodical and detail-oriented, while Green had a reputation for her sharp intuition. They began by carefully examining the bedroom where Jake Malden's body was found. The scene was eerily tidy, with no signs of a struggle, suggesting that the murder had been carefully planned. Jake had been shot twice, and there was no sign of forced entry into the house. Detectives Hollis and Green used various tools to investigate the crime scene. They sprayed luminol, a chemical that glows blue in the presence of blood, to check for any traces that might have been cleaned up. They also took photographs and collected fingerprints from around the room. Forensic experts arrived to gather evidence, including fibers and hair samples, which they bagged and tagged for further analysis. The detectives then moved on to interviewing Laura Beth, who was still in shock. She told them that she had woken up to find Jake dead beside her. Her statements were emotional and confused, making it hard for the detectives to get a clear picture. The officers also spoke with the neighbors, but no one had seen or heard anything unusual, except for one elderly neighbor who mentioned hearing a loud noise the night before. As the investigation continued, the detectives discovered that Jake had been shot with a small-caliber handgun. They searched the house thoroughly, but did not find the weapon. This made them suspect that the killer had taken it with them. They also checked the security cameras in the neighborhood, hoping to find any clues, but the footage did not reveal any suspicious activity. The detectives knew they had to work quickly. They analyzed the evidence collected from the scene, hoping to find leads that would point them toward the murderer. The tidy crime scene, the lack of forced entry, and the missing weapon all suggested that the killer was someone who knew Jake well. Detectives Hollis and Green were determined to uncover the truth and bring justice to Jake Malden. The first suspect in Jake Malden's murder was his wife, Laura Beth Malden. Laura Beth was 32 years old and known for being outgoing and sociable. She had a passion for literature and loved hosting book clubs and charity events at their home. People in the community described her as warm and generous, but lately, some friends had noticed she seemed more withdrawn and anxious. Given that she had easy access to Jake's bedroom, the police had to consider her a suspect. On February 18, 2012, after the police secured the crime scene, Laura Beth was taken to the police station for questioning. The detectives, Jason Hollis and Sarah Lee Green, wanted to know more about her relationship with Jake and her activities the night he was killed. During the interrogation, Laura Beth was visibly upset. She was crying and seemed very confused. Her voice trembled as she explained that she had woken up and found Jake dead beside her. Detective Hollis asked her detailed questions about their relationship, and Laura Beth admitted that they had been going through a rough patch. She mentioned that Jake had been very busy with work and that they had been arguing more than usual. Detective Green asked about the gun used in the murder. Laura Beth denied knowing anything about it. She insisted that she did not own a gun and had no idea where it could have come from. The detectives noted that Laura Beth's responses were emotional, and at times she seemed overwhelmed. Her demeanor was a mix of sorrow and confusion, making it hard for the detectives to determine if she was hiding something or genuinely shocked by her husband's death. As the interrogation continued, the detectives learned more about the Maltons' financial situation. Laura Beth mentioned that Jake handled most of their finances and that she was not aware of any major issues. However, she did know that Jake had been stressed about a big project at work. Meanwhile, the police continued to gather evidence from the Malton home. They searched for any signs that could link Laura Beth to the crime. They checked her phone records, emails, and social media accounts, looking for any clues. Despite the lack of clear evidence pointing directly at Laura Beth, her emotional state and proximity to the crime made her a key figure in the investigation. The detectives knew they needed more information to either confirm or dismiss their suspicions about her involvement in Jake's death. The second suspect in Jake Malden's murder was his boss, Merle O'Brien. Merle was 48 years old and known as an ambitious, driven man. He had built his investment firm from the ground up and was described as a workaholic. Merle was meticulous and sometimes ruthless in his business dealings. Recently, Jake and Merle had disagreed over the direction of the company, leading to tension between them. On February 19, 2012, the day after Jake was found dead, detectives Jason Hollis and Sarah Lee Green brought Merle in for questioning. Merle arrived at the police station in a neat suit, looking calm and composed. He greeted the detectives with a firm handshake, showing no signs of nervousness. Detective Hollis started by asking Merle about his relationship with Jake. Merle admitted that they had disagreements, but insisted it was nothing out of the ordinary for business partners. He spoke highly of Jake's skills and expressed shock at his death. Detective Green then asked about the night of the murder. Merle provided an alibi, stating he was at a company dinner event. He even named several colleagues who could confirm his whereabouts. The detectives also questioned Merle about rumors that Jake was planning to report him for sexually harassing secretaries at the firm. Merle's demeanor shifted slightly, but he remained composed. He denied any wrongdoing and suggested that Jake might have been mistaken or misled. The police also investigated Merle's financial records and found that Jake had been handling a major project that could have impacted the company's future. This project had been a source of their recent disagreements. The detectives considered the possibility that Merle had a financial motive to get rid of Jake. As the questioning continued, Merle kept his composure, calmly answering all of the detectives' questions. He maintained that he had no reason to harm Jake and that their disagreements were purely professional. Detective Hollis and Detective Green noted that while Merle seemed to have a solid alibi, his motive couldn't be ignored. They decided to verify his alibi by speaking with his colleagues and checking the event's guest list. They also continued to look into the company's financial dealings, hoping to find more clues. Despite Merle's calm and collected responses, the detectives knew they had to keep investigating all angles. Merle remained a key suspect as they worked to uncover the truth behind Jake Malden's murder. On February 21, 2012, 3 days after Jake Malden's death, the weather in Naperville was cold and overcast. At around 10:00 a.m., a breakthrough in the case occurred. A neighbor, while walking her dog near the Malden home, was shocked to find a small handgun in a nearby park. The park was a popular spot for families and dog walkers, making it an unusual place to find a weapon. The neighbor immediately called the police. Detectives Jason Hollis and Sarah Lee Green were informed about the new evidence. They felt a sense of urgency as they awaited the forensic results. Later that afternoon, the forensic team confirmed that the handgun was indeed the one used to kill Jake. The discovery of the gun was a significant development in the investigation. The detectives reviewed the security footage from the park but found nothing suspicious. They decided to canvass the neighborhood again, hoping to find witnesses who might have seen someone disposing of the gun. They spoke with several residents, including an elderly neighbor, who mentioned seeing a woman walking toward the park late at night, but she couldn't identify her. As they investigated further, Detective Hollis found fingerprints on the gun. The prints matched those of Marie Castelchant, the Maltons' next-door neighbor and a close friend of Laura Beth. Marie was known for being kind-hearted and loyal. This connection made her a key person of interest. With this new evidence, the detectives felt they were getting closer to solving the case. The discovery of the gun and the connection to Marie added a new layer of complexity, but it also brought them one step closer to finding Jake Malden's murderer. The third suspect in Jake Malden's murder was Marie Castelchant, the Maltons' next-door neighbor. Marie, 38, was known for her kindness and loyalty in the community, but she harbored a secret life as well. Under the alias Cookie LaGuardia, Marie worked as a stripper, a fact that added a layer of complexity to the investigation. On February 22, 2012, detectives Jason Hollis and Sarah Lee Green brought Marie in for questioning. The day was cold and cloudy, typical of February in Naperville. Mary looked nervous as she entered the police station, aware that her fingerprints had been found on the gun used to kill Jake. Detective Hollis started the interrogation by asking Marie about her relationship with the Maltons. She admitted that she and Jake had been having an affair, but insisted that she had nothing to do with his murder. Marie explained that she had been home alone the night Jake was killed, which made her alibi weak. Detective Green then asked about the handgun found in the park. Mary became visibly anxious and struggled to explain how her fingerprints ended up on the weapon. She said that Jake had visited her a few days before his death and brought the gun with him. According to Mary, Jake was worried about their affair being discovered and wanted to protect her. However, this explanation seemed suspicious to the detectives. The police also discovered that Jake had secretly mortgaged his house to pay Mary's bills. This financial connection added another layer to the investigation, suggesting a possible motive for Marie. Despite her calm and kind demeanor, the detectives knew they had to dig deeper into her background. As they questioned Marie further, the detectives noticed inconsistencies in her story. She initially claimed she had no idea Jake was playing Divisic the night of his death, but later admitted he had called her earlier that day. Detective Hollis pressed on, asking why she hadn't mentioned this earlier. Mary became flustered and started to stammer. To gather more evidence, the detectives decided to search Marie's home. They found letters from Jake expressing regret over their affair and hinting at emotional manipulation within his marriage. These letters provided insight into Jake's state of mind and suggested that he was planning to confess to Laura Beth and end the affair. Detectives Hollis and Green knew they had to proceed carefully. They continued to investigate Mary's connection to Jake, hoping to find the evidence needed to solve the case and bring justice for Jake Malton. On February 23, 2012, the police in Naperville, Illinois, were ready to make an arrest in the murder of Jake Malton. After days of investigation, they had gathered enough evidence to identify the murderer. The police had pieced together a tragic story of betrayal, financial stress, and emotional breakdown. The detectives found a crucial piece of evidence in Jake's home office, a letter he had written to his children, Ponderosa and Arson. In the letter, Jake expressed regret and guilt over his affair with Marie Castelchant. He also mentioned his plans to confess to Laura Beth and end the affair. The letter showed a darker side of Jake, hinting at emotional manipulation within his marriage. This letter, combined with the evidence gathered, pointed to Laura Beth Malton as the murderer. Detectives Jason Hollis and Sarah Lee Green arrived at the Malton home at 9:00 a.m. to arrest Laura Beth. The morning was cold, with a light snowfall covering the ground. Laura Beth was in the kitchen, making breakfast for her children. When the detectives informed her of the arrest, she was visibly shocked. She broke down in tears, repeatedly screaming, "Let those without sin cast the first stone." The detectives carefully explained the evidence against her. They mentioned the financial stress caused by Jake's secret mortgage to pay Mary's bills and the emotional toll of discovering his affair. They also pointed out the letter Jake had written, which showed his intention to confess and the manipulation within their marriage. Laura Beth's world had been shattered by these revelations, leading her to a breaking point. Laura Beth was handcuffed and taken to the police station. The local news stations, including NBC Chicago, quickly picked up the story. Reporters gathered outside the Malton home, capturing the moment as Laura Beth was led away by the police. The community was in shock, struggling to comprehend how a seemingly perfect family could be torn apart by such a tragedy. At the police station, Laura Beth made a chilling confession to the murder. She explained that she had found out about Jake's affair and the financial problems he had caused. In a moment of utter despair and emotional breakdown, she had shot Jake in their bedroom, unable to cope with the betrayal and stress. She admitted to disposing of the gun in the nearby park, hoping to distance herself from the crime. The arrest of Laura Beth brought a sense of relief to Jake's family and friends, but it also left them with a deep sadness. They struggled to understand how things had gone so wrong. The detectives felt a mix of satisfaction and sorrow, knowing they had solved the case, but also aware of the devastating impact on the Malton family. The trial of Laura Beth Malton began on May 15, 2012, in Naperville, Illinois. The courtroom was packed with local residents, reporters from NBC Chicago, and members of Jake Malton's family. The atmosphere was tense as everyone awaited the outcome of this tragic case. The prosecution was led by Assistant State's Attorney Michael Health Backley, a 45-year-old known for his strong sense of justice and meticulous preparation. Health Backley argued that Laura Beth had carefully planned the murder of her husband, driven by jealousy and financial stress. He presented evidence of Jake's affair with Marie Castelchant, the financial problems due to the secret mortgage, and the letter Jake had written, which showed his intention to confess and end the affair. Health Backley painted a picture of Laura Beth as a woman pushed to the edge, ultimately committing a desperate act of violence. The defense attorney, Dorothea Blake, a 38-year-old with a reputation for her empathetic approach, represented Laura Beth. Blake argued that Laura Beth was a devoted wife and mother who had been emotionally manipulated by Jake. She claimed that Laura Beth's actions were the result of a momentary breakdown caused by extreme emotional distress. Blake highlighted Laura Beth's clean record and her dedication to her family, suggesting that she was not capable of premeditated murder. As the trial proceeded, the emotional toll on Jake's family was evident. His children, Ponderosa and Arson, were seen in the courtroom, supported by other family members. They appeared heartbroken and confused, struggling to understand the events that had led to their father's death and their mother's trial. After 2 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for 3 days. On June 1, 2012, they returned with a verdict of guilty of second-degree murder. The judge sentenced Laura Beth Malton to 20 years in prison, considering the emotional distress she had been under, but also the severity of her crime. The reaction to the verdict was mixed. Jake's family felt a sense of justice, but were also saddened by the reality that Laura Beth, someone they had known and loved, was responsible for his death. Some community members felt the sentence was too lenient, while others believed it was fair given the circumstances. The trial and verdict had a profound effect on everyone involved. Jake's family and friends were left to pick up the pieces, struggling with the loss of both Jake and Laura Beth. The community of Naperville was deeply affected as they had lost a respected member and witnessed the unraveling of what seemed to be a perfect family. In the aftermath, discussions about emotional health and the pressures of maintaining a facade and seemingly perfect lives became more prominent. The trial had not only brought closure to Jake's murder, but also shed light on the underlying issues that led to this tragic event. After Laura Beth Malton's trial and sentencing, life in Naperville slowly returned to normal, but the effects of Jake Malton's murder lingered in the community. The Malton children, Ponderosa and Arson, were taken in by their grandparents, who provided them with love and stability during this difficult time. They received support from neighbors and friends, who rallied around them in their grief. Meanwhile, the Malton family home became a quiet reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded there. The neighbors, who had once seen the Maltons as a model family, now whispered about the secrets that had torn them apart. The local newspaper, Naperville Sun, covered the aftermath of the trial extensively, reflecting on the impact of the case on the tight-knit community. Laura Beth Malton began serving her sentence at White Correctional Center, a women's prison in Illinois. Her adjustment to prison life was difficult, as she navigated the challenges of being away from her children and coming to terms with her actions. Reports from the prison mentioned that Laura Beth kept to herself, spending her days reflecting on her choices and participating in prison programs aimed at rehabilitation. The trial also sparked discussions in Naperville about the pressures of maintaining appearances and the impact of emotional distress on individuals and families. Some community members advocated for better mental health support, while others emphasized the importance of open communication in relationships. In the years following the trial, Ponderosa and Arson grew up surrounded by love and support from their extended family. They remembered their father fondly and cherished the memories they had of him sailing and enjoying family vacations. Their resilience and strength became a testament to the community's ability to come together in the face of adversity.